YouTubers and friends, how you doing tonight? I hope you're all doing as good as I am here. Toledo Jess, Dano, and I have our friend Kim Woodside from all the way up in the Great White North, Ontario, Canada. So with no further ado, let's get to the show. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tuesday Night Hangout Live. Tuesday Night Hangout Live. Tuesday Night Hangout Live. Tuesday Night Hangout Live. With your hosts, Ed Marvin, Toledo Jess, and Dano. Tuesday Night Hangout Live is a classic on-demand production.
All right, YouTubers and friends, my name's... All right. Uh-oh.
Sorry.
It's okay, Kim.
Okay, that's on. Okay. Okay, now we got it. All right.
No,
Hi,
I'm
guys.
still hearing an echo.
I can't. There's. Do you guys keep getting cut off?
That ain't the problem. I'm hearing an echo.
Yeah, I hear it too.
Sorry, everybody. We're 2 minutes late because of a technical issue,
An echo.
and apparently we still have it.
Okay. Murphy's here. That's right, David.
Every week.
Every week,
I don't.
he touches
I don't
us
know.
in some way or another.
Nothing.
So you got the headphones plugged in, and can you hear us?
No. We're straight on computer now.
You'll have to go into your Skype Dana, can you talk her through that really quick so she can pick her headsets?
I think, what is it? You go to call up on top of your Skype where it says Skype conversation call, view, tools, and help. Click on call, go down to audio settings. And it should come up where you have your mic and everything. You see it across the top of your Skype there.
All right, friends. Sorry about
There's a
this
conversation
out
box.
there.
It just
Okay.
opened up to you guys. So there's some dots. What do they do?
As you know, it happens
They
when
might be
you're
the dots we
live.
need to go to. I don't know on that
And
one.
we're doing the
Share,
best we can
notepad,
to deal
please
with
call on
it at
hold.
this
No, none of
moment.
those.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be like the top of your
So,
Skype where you've got all of us on your
I
Skype,
hope
all of our
Ken-
pictures.
While we're at it, can you hear me all right this week?
All I
Like
have
very-
right now is calling. Type a message. No.
Trying to think of where else to tell you to go, because on mine, it's across the top of my Skype. It gives you what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 6 choices.
No, I've got all that's coming up, but it says Ed Marvin flash in your pan. And then I've got Dan, you, and Jess, the telephone, the mic, the dots, and the hang up call.
Okay, you don't have across the top like a white border.
Nothing.
Tool, you don't have a toolbar up there?
Okay, can I go in on a different call? No, it has to be on the group call. Okay.
Well, then you'd have to call my number, and that'd probably be long distance for you.
Yeah.
Now there's another place where you can try, but you have to go down on your taskbar on your computer screen. There's a little speaker there, and if you right-click on it, it should come up as recording. I can't find it on my computer right now. But it should say recording and recording sounds and audio sounds, or playback, and you can, or playback devices and sound devices, recording devices, and you pick what you're using on it and make it your default. Because right now I have a terrible, terrible echo. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
We're working on it. We're trying.
We actually been working on it.
We're trying.
Yeah, we thought we had.
Okay.
But we wanted to bring the show on as close to on time as possible and the best quality possible.
And they know what I say. The show must go on.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it ain't
I
like
can't
we've
hold you
never
back.
had this problem.
Patrick O'Master says it's not too bad on their end.
Oh, it's really bad on our end, or at least in
Can
my
you guys
ear,
hear?
it's really bad.
Well, how can they hear it?
Yeah, do you guys hear the echo we're hearing?
Sound like a dog barking?
It kind of does.
Ruff.
A little
little
feedback.
I had
comments.
internet. Hmm.
Now, how's my volume? Because last week I was really, really low. So
It always sounds good to us. So yeah, how is Ed? Is Ed doing okay?
Whoa.
the
Yeah.
echo is low, John Wolf says.
And David
So-
Vila says he hears it loud. Yes.
Wolfie, we can
Nothing
hear
serious.
it here, but nothing serious. Hey,
That's it.
Dick.
Dick says it sounds
Hi,
good
James.
too.
I met this guy over the weekend. I'll talk to you about. I'll talk about him here in a minute.
Says everybody's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's just us. I guess we'll have to deal with
It's
it.
gonna drive me nuts.
Hey,
I'm already
it's a
nuts.
short putt, dude.
Take a pill, Ed. Take a pill. Pills are good.
No, I know something that's better.
See, now I don't hear it. I don't hear it.
I don't hear it. She do
Hey,
something?
the chat room wished it away. They said no echo, no echo, no echo, and it went away.
Yay! I don't have my sound effects. Applause. All right, everybody, let's go back to
Let's go with
almost
the
step
show.
one.
That was a different start to the show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right, my name's
So now that we're all
Edmond.
here,
Get Ed back.
yeah. So
Hey,
now that we're
Dan.
all here. Hi, Kim.
Yeah, hey Kim.
Bring her up, Ed.
Oh,
They don't want to see us.
No, they see us every week.
Yeah, I'm going bye-bye.
No.
I'm gonna turn into a pan of gold. Watch.
All right.
Ta-da!
Are you gonna turn into a little gold guy, Jess? Right? now? I
Ta-da!
was late on the snap. Doggone it.
It was a delay. It was close.
We'll bring up our star guest. All right, everybody. If you're the first time here with us tonight, I'm Ed Marvin of Flash in Your Pans, and my co-hosts Dano and Jesse. You saw them just a minute ago. Our special guest is Kim Woodside. the Eldorado experience up in Eldorado, Ontario, or where?
Canada.
Well, I know that, but are you actually in Eldorado also?
Yes.
Okay.
The community got its name because of the gold rush. Before that, it was just known as dirt.
Dirt.
So there was nothing more here than, well, this all happened. Right, the community would have started back in the time of the absentee landlords. So all of the, knights and noblemen from England were granted land here in Canada. And the guys that had this weren't paying their taxes to the king. So the land came up in the land grab. You had one similar in the States for the new immigrants coming over.
Right.
So this property and the property next door were purchased together by two brothers who came from Scotland, John Richardson and a George Fox. Just farmers, nothing more. They farmed it for about 30 years. And then one day they discovered an iron deposit in the town of Madoc, just eight miles away. Because of this iron deposit, the prospector named Marcus Powell came back in this direction and decided to go prospecting for copper. It just so happened he discovered copper the first year. He asked Richardson if he could mine for the next 2 years. It was on the same vein of copper. And then in 1866, he fell into a cave that was 6 by 6 by 12 feet long. Completely lined in gold, flake, inches thick from the ceiling, a red decomposed earth on the floor that was full of dust nugget. I think I lost you guys all together here now.
We hear you, but
Yeah, we can hear you.
we just have no video.
Yeah, I've got nothing coming up at all for Skype. It just disappeared. So let's see if we can do that again.
Oh, we're trying to get your video back up there. So,
Well, my fault on that. Skype has never been a good one here in this area. And I don't know, I say it's because of the traffic, but really I think it's because of the amount of mineral that's here. Nothing, most cell phones won't work. Yeah.
And Patrick says the echo's back too. Well,
Compasses don't work. I don't work. Nothing works. Okay, let's see what this does. All right. Back into the group. Fingers crossed. Ta-da!
Whoopi says seems to think you're right about the rock, iron and the rock.
Yeah, that would throw off hot rocks and stuff. Would throw off your.
Yeah, we kind of forgot to say hi to our chat room.
Well, we had all the stuff going on.
Yeah, right. Hey, we all appreciate you being here. Hey, there
we do.
You know, when they discovered the gold here, because it was Americans, all of this was American. So you guys play a big part.
How do you mean?
When they discovered it, they thought it was copper. Even after he fell into the cave, he still thought it was copper. And all of this ended right at the end of the California gold rush. So the first miners that came up came from the 49ers. And they were the ones that had said that is gold. So after fire assays, and it was determined that it was, one of the big things was if you find the red, you find the gold. So I always assumed that the gold must have had a reddish color to it if they confused it for copper, especially.
Well, that's why they say gold rides iron.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's where that comes from.
That one I find quite often, and that's now what I look for first is the iron target. And
Right.
and I know that as soon as I find that and I look for the dark red, then I'm right on the source. So what had happened when they first discovered this was the very first time gold was ever discovered in Hardrock. So they had no real idea of what to do or how to get rid of it. The stagecoach operator had overheard them say it was gold. He goes racing down to Belleville, which was the booze supplier for Prohibition in later years. He goes down to Belleville, tries bringing up investors to start mining. And while he's talking to the main group of people, there's two in the back, Mr. Johnson and Carr. And instead of joining with the investors, they came here as soon as possible, and they struck a deal with John Richardson. So the other guys, Lombard and Harding, they were a little too slow. The problem came about, Carr and Johnson, they were from Chicago. And Lombard and Seth Harding, they were from Boston. And they took out 3 barrels of this red earth from the bottom. That went down to Syracuse for assay. So, like the United States was very big in the start of this, and plus Canada wasn't a country yet either. This was just at the beginning. So they finally discovered that it was gold, and the guys from Chicago, Carr and Johnson, were all set to have Richardson sign on the deal, but they couldn't come up with the cash. It was $25,000 was the deal for them to mine. And so he refused to sign, and instead he signed with Seth Harding and Joseph Lombard from Boston. Now, there was an argument came about in a court injunction which stopped mining. So it was discovered in 66. Now we come around, so fall of 66, and there's a court injunction. Who has the right to mine the hill? So it was July the following year, 67, that the court divided the hill amongst the parties in the injunction, and then there's 14 companies that all tried mining on this ridge. Some only had 5,000 in cash. Lombard and Harding had the most. They had 125,000 in cash. Dynamite was invented the year before. So all they used here was blasting powder and fire. They built the crusher. That was a 40 by 60, 3-story high, 40 by 60 foot, 3-story high limestone crushing building. They could crush about 50 ton of rock per day. The problem was they were using steam and mercury to try to remove the gold, and it could pull out the pure gold, but it couldn't touch any of the sulfide. It was losing, so they were losing just as much as what they were recovering. The cost for the mercury, the cost for the blasting powder. And so I found a document a couple of years ago, and I'm reading on this document, and I'm thinking things don't really make sense to what the books had said. And on this document, it had the suspensions of the mine. So they were closed for the court injunction. The hill was then divided broken up. So on the east side of the farm, they were scraping copper off the ground, 1-foot trenches that run 50 to 100 feet long. And that was called the Eldorado Gold Mining Company, and that was Carr and Johnson. The middle of the farm.
They were getting copper out of there, huh?
There's copper on both sides. The east side and the west side are both copper deposits. The middle of the property is, that's where the gold is. But I found gold over on the west side too. And I think it's just because nobody's ever really looked on the east side.
Okay.
When they ran for, okay, while they were building the crusher, that took them 5 months to build. This is a huge, massive building that's still in the woods. So while they were building that, they were still digging out the gold, and they were stockpiling it in back of the crusher. They had, they ran for 1 month, and they ran out of cash. So Lombard had asked the investors, they were known as the Belleville citizens, he asked them to, fork out some money, boys. And they didn't. They said, they weren't coming forth. So he ended up, they called 4 different meetings during the winter months to try to raise more money to continue mining. And instead, they got shut down for bankruptcy. When they were shut down, they still had a 5-month stockpile of ore in back of the crusher. That's still there today. So in the fall of '68, they tried again under the name of the Phoenix Mining Company. And Phoenix, they were being really smart. They weren't removing out any ore. This is also on the document, that they weren't removing out any ore. And they did a series of blasts. There's all kinds of little holes all in one area. But they exposed gold in feeders from 2 inches up to 6 feet. And then they also exposed what was known as the main vein, and that was the size of a 7-inch stovepipe. And they followed that for 100 feet, and then they got shut down. And the fun facts on that, they had a 1-ton weight of gold-studded rock at the entrance to the gold mine to show the value to potential investors. And instead of getting the investors, the sheriff came and shut them down after 6 months, and they didn't remove anything. The farm stayed as it was until 1877, 10 years later. And John Richardson decided that he wanted to try mining himself. And in starting up the crusher, set it on fire, done. That was the end of that attempt. John died the following year.
Oops.
Murphy must have been there too.
Exactly, every time. So then now Marcus, he's the young guy that discovered it. He went on to make a few other discoveries in the area as well, the Malone deposit and the Deloro deposit. But he came back here in 1885, along again with Seth Harding. And they dug what was known as the Harding shaft. So that's what I call the deep shaft. The picture that's there on the page for tonight, I've got on a red jacket. That's 70 feet below ground. And I put my TV tower. I got in a fight with Rogers one day, and I said, that's it, enough. And I took all that equipment, and I threw it down the hole. It makes a beautiful ladder. But it also, because before that, all I had was a rope ladder, and I wasn't very keen on going up and down the hole. So that would be I bought here in 2008. So in 2010, I dropped the TV tower down that hole. And in doing so, I was able to find the crosscut that runs along the bottom 70 feet is the length of this crosscut. And after we saw those, and I start looking again at the blueprints that were for the book, in the books written about here, everything is made to look as if it all happened within 2 years. But, this was 20 years later when they came back. So there's a blueprint that's up on the Eldorado experience page, and it's Marcus's blueprint. And his writing says on there to, if mining continues, go the entire length of the crosscut, remove the hill, and to carry the incline shaft as deep as it'll go. The assays also show that the mine gets deeper, gets richer the deeper that it goes. So the fissure actually starts 3 inches from the top of the surface. And as you go down, the deeper you go, the less quartz you see, or the less quartzite that you see. That's what they called it. And it's more and more mineral. And then as you get deeper into the crosscut, the reds are still there, but the iron targets are, the centers of them are almost white in the color. Those mineral pockets are just beautiful. So what I was able to do was prove that document was actual fact, and which made everything else made sense. So then what happened in that 85, 86, they took out 116 ounces. Marcus had gotten another investor, but the investor was trying to get Marcus off the lease. Marcus found out, shut down the deal, and that's it. Everybody's gone. And they went about 5 miles away to the Deloro deposit. Here was completely forgotten about. And then in 1888, they came back to the very far end of the property, and they were mining iron. And it ran as an iron mine, as the coal iron mine, and then as the coal Moore iron mine, until they got to the 100-foot mark. And as soon as they got 100 feet down, it's a 65-foot quarry. So as soon as they got to the 100-foot mark, then boom, she changed right back into copper. And they mined copper for 3 years until winter storm and the smelter blew in, and boom, fire again. Then came the wars. As soon as the wars ended, the big deposits happened, the big Kirkland Lake and, Noranda, all these big companies started. And this little farm was just a little tiny bit too small. But what we're finding now is, from all of this mineral that's been sitting here in the ore piles, I now have secondary minerals which are really valuable, and supergenes, and the gold has now become, the gold would be the sparkles on the icing on the cake. It's the rare earth, and it seems everything that I send in, every bit of rock that I send in, it doesn't matter what it looks like, it'll come up with some percentage of gold. My lowest was 3 grams. The highest was 50.2 grams. I got one, this one, just looks like a normal, let me see if we can get, I don't know if you can see where that mineral shows up in along on there. But this one came out 8 grams of gold, but I have 15 of the 17 rare earth elements. And the rare earth, that's what's making us talk tonight. And that's
Adam from California Gold Rush asked, what are the host rocks?
Quartzite, dolomite. I'm on 2 zones, so just north of me is a limestone band. Just to the south of me is a limestone band. So this event took place from a meteorite impact. The first meteorite ever discovered was in Madoc, 8 kilometers away, in 1854. That was the iron deposit. Another 20 miles away from me is the Marmaton mine, a huge iron mine. The meteorite was discovered there at the 10,000-foot mark. And I carry all of the same minerals as the Sudbury Basin, which is a known meteorite impact. The other was I have shocked quartz. And that only happens with meteorites or nuclear explosions, and nothing blew up here yet. So strange things had happened here. So that impact, one of the strangest things about the rock is the gold is shot throughout the rock just like buckshot from out of a gun. And that's how they described it. It's in flour, dust, vein, nugget, leaf, whatever form you wanted to find it in. It's in telluride. Just like the alloys, it's in everything. It's just not in. It's just not in a pure crystal because gold is so friendly. I got here. I don't know if you can see if you can see those. I don't know if you can see colors. You see that?
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay.
So how would that look? How would that look sliced?
I don't know.
Would
I
that be?
put it in. I put this into my little cement mixer and I crush it up into flour. So I have
well, because I know sometimes people will pay really good money for slices of gold like
Absolutely.
that. You know, so I mean, as making jewelry and stuff.
When people come for a visit, what I do here, and it started because I kept finding people trespassing in the woods. Don't trespass in the woods. Don't claim jump.
Claim jumping and hydrating's no good.
No. I kept finding people out in my woods, and I was getting quite upset. So finally, I put no trespassing signs all over the place.
Especially when all you gotta do is come to the front door, right?
Exactly. Like I'm so excited to take someone out to the woods. I mean,
well, I bet. I know. I haven't talked to you for a while. I know. I understand. Right. So why try to sneak in the back door when you just?
Sure. Come out to the woods with me.
Let me show you.
If somebody especially. I like it when the bigger boys come because I can run faster, and if that bear's hungry, I have no worries.
You don't have to run the fastest. You just have to run faster than anyone else.
That's right. So what I just tell people, well, okay, so what I do is I let people come for the day. So they pay $25 for the day, pack a lunch. I'll show them or teach them the history of what happened. I'll take them to where each of the different mines or smelters were. And then I give them an opportunity. You want to dig in the ore pile, there's the ore pile, have fun. And then from there we'll go to, because there's the Wellington mine and the Phoenix, and then there's the Kootenai, the Kirkland.
These are all on your property, right?
They're all on the property. Now, one of the strangest things is that so each of these mines, like the deepest is the Harding shaft at 70 feet. So this mine shaft, or mine, well, with just a hole, it'll be 20 feet long, maybe 15 to 10 feet wide. Let's say 10 feet wide. And that's where the TV tower is, but it's a 70-foot into the ground. The gold mine, it's only 15 feet, but then you're going inside a cave. I don't like having things over my head. The Wellington mine is a double, like a dog leg, but it's two open pits, but they only went down 12 feet. And that pit would be, again, 20 feet long, but 12 feet deep. And their gossan is purple. And I find lepidolite in there. I guess it's supposed to be kind of rare. Then you come to the Union mine, and they were mining a really high-end, something special in the pyrite. But that's also where I'm back into... and starting to get into the uraniums. The rare earths are back there as well. Arsenical, nickeline is another big one that's further there at the back. The quartz also changes when you get to the back of what I call the back is the west side. So I'm thinking, because the east side of the farm is massive quartz, really milky, and that's where the gold is predominant. The west side is where the quartz is in really nice crystals. Beautiful, well, that's not the nicest, but if we're going to get into crystals, we head straight to the back. So that tells me that the vent, when it occurred, started on the east side, and then water's colder, everything cooled faster. As it got to the west, it had more time to cool. It also seems that the deposit is running northwest, southeast. The quartz lenses on the farm are running in the same direction. There's two 800-foot lenses that run across the farm. After this meteorite and a lot of years just eroding away on its own, we've had two glaciers that have also come through.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
So the glaciers, they could take off they removed all of the soft mineral. When you're standing out on the ridge, you can look down 100 feet and you can see the path that the glacier took. And then if I go down along, I call that the bog. If I go down along there, lots of rock you can pick up, and it's full of all of the marks that the glacier should leave with the nail heads, and so it all shows this glacier shearing. But it couldn't remove the hard rock of the south of the ridge, which is all of the deposit.
Wow.
When I look at a topographical chart of the farm, there's 3 of these high zones. So I started scraping the overburden. My overburden is 3 inches deep dirt. So I started.
Yeah, that's pretty shallow.
That's shallow bedrock.
Exactly. Well, I couldn't understand why the farmer, like there's 30 acres out there. Why is it wild meadow? Why, it's full of deer. Why aren't you farming it? And there's no way he would take his equipment in.
Yeah,
So there's this big rock I started scraping, and it doesn't end. But it's bringing up the same, the quartz at the gold mine has a really nice, I was told it would be an 8-carat gold film that's over the top of it. It's got a lot of copper in it, but it almost has a mother of pearl finish, just like you have on inside of an oyster shell, right? This shimmer covers the rock that's at the gold mine. It's also here in the top of middle of the field, and it's also up on the north side. So that tells me that zone goes all the way through. Gonna have to drill it next.
A bunch of test drills, huh?
Did I lose you guys again?
No.
Oh,
We're
okay.
here. Sounds great. Kim, I can't. One day I'll have to get up there. So, let me take a quick commercial break for our friends over at GPS and Prospectors Radio.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Now that I'm off mute.
And we'll get back to the conversation, and what you're doing great. And so we'll get back to you.
All right.
Okay, we'll be right back after this word from one of our sponsors. All right, everybody, we're back. We're with our guest, Kim Woodside, the owner of the Eldorado Experience in Ontario, Canada. with our co-host. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not, thanks for coming back. All right, Kim, now you were talking about the next thing to do is drill.
Drill, yeah. I have, every time I hear that word, I look in that field and wonder, do I want to do that or not?
Well, you want to show us some drill core?
I don't. That's one thing that we haven't done yet is companies have asked, and for the longest time, okay. First things, when I bought this property, I didn't know anything at all about a gold mine.
And I was going to ask you about that. What made you buy that piece of property?
I was going to renovate the house and flip it.
Oh.
It was cheap. It was cheap.
Because you're a carpenter also, aren't you?
I'm a cabinet maker, and
Oh, wow, cool.
So I was here to do Dunkin' Donut stores, actually, and I was on contract. I had done 3 stores, and they were finished, and I was heading back to Prince Edward Island was my intention. I was moving from Alberta back to my hometown, and they kept trying to get me to do 3 more stores. And I said no, because I didn't want to stay in hotels anymore. That was my excuse. So then it was, well, you buy a place, and in between I could just, just keep it for a few months and just do the contract. And, you twist an arm. So I kept telling them, I didn't want to be rude, just flat out and say no. So I said, you find me the proper place or the perfect place, and I'll go and look at it. I didn't want to have any neighbors of any kind. I wasn't living in a city, no more cement. And so I made it difficult, you're not going to find this list. This is a big list.
I want mountains. I want a big house. I want a barn, workspace.
I wanted a cozy little hobby farm, just a nice little house, a nice little barn, lots of land, had to have trees. And then it also had to be within 2 hours to Toronto. I had to be in a certain 2 hours, Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa within this certain area. So, she's not going to find anything. Oh, and it had to be under 200,000. That was the big kicker. So, I didn't want to pay big mortgage. And so she passes me this list of houses. And I was flying from Montreal back to Alberta. And this one property was on the way. So I figured, okay, then I'll have a look at it on the way to the airport. And just as I'm driving along the 401, and I hate that highway, and I see the sign that says you're now entering Prince Edward County. And while I'm from Prince Edward Island, that's a good sign. I made the turn to come up Highway 62. I'm just north of Belleville, just off Lake Ontario. So I have the good winter weather. I just made the turn, and the highway is just lined in lilacs in June. It's just beautiful. That's all you can smell. That's all you see. And it's like, oh, my favorite flower. I mean, this place is calling. So then I get up here to see this house. And it's just a little blue house in the middle of a field. And I think the front property is about 6 acres. And that's all grain field. But I had this beautiful little barn and two little barns and this nice little house. And the guy that owned it, he was selling it on his own, no realtor. And he was 6'7". And the house was made for him, so nobody wanted it. It had been listed for 5 years. Nobody had any interest, no interest at all in the house. So I come along and I go to check out the basement, do the things you're supposed to do. Climbed up in the attic, yeah, that looked good. I go down in the basement, and I walk in, and the whole basement is all general industrial woodworking tools. The table saws, the drill press, the jointer, everything I could possibly need. And it's
Wow,
sitting.
even more what you would even ask for.
Well, that's the thing. And like the guy, Cliff, he's asking me, he says, so what do you do? And I told him. And so right away he's, kind of looking at me strange, but he was 81. And I asked, I said, what are you going to do with the tools? And he says, well, if you buy the house, I'll throw in the tools.
Ooh,
Well,
nice.
it didn't take much for me to start adding up the cost of that equipment down there, and the cost of what for me to ship it down from out west. So, I talked to him a little bit more, and I'm looking around, and it's got a wood furnace, and oh my God, like everything you could possibly ask for. And it had a 70-acre white cedar, oak, and sugar maple bush. So, it was just like I couldn't say no. So I told him, I said, well, I told him if the house came in at a good appraisal from the bank, and if you threw in the tools, I'd buy the house. So I gave him a deposit, signed the intent to purchase, and then I said to him that, I said, I noticed there's a historical plaque out there on the road. But what's that all about? Because I like history. And he says, why, are you a gold digger? And like steam is just going. And I was so upset. How dare you say that to me? And then finally he passed me this picture, and he says no, he says, you're now a gold digger. And I still couldn't grasp, but his girlfriend was laughing at this point. So I figured, okay, like I'm missing the joke. And that's when he said that I was now the new owner of Ontario's first gold mine. Well, it still didn't sink in, because I said to him, I said, well, that doesn't matter. That's just a hole in the ground. You need mining rights. If you don't have mining rights, it's nothing. And that's when he told me that I just signed 2 deeds. So the mineral rights for this property has its own deed. There's only a few left in the country that are like that. So I can sell the farm and keep the mineral rights, or I can sell the mineral rights, or I can sell it all, but I don't have to pay claim fees. I don't have to worry about somebody, my claim just expired and somebody just moved in and took it. I don't have any of those issues. That I thought was quite fascinating, but at the same time, I didn't know anything about gold. I don't even wear it. So it was.
What, did you buy that extra, or was that part of the deal?
$165,000 was what I paid for everything.
Wow.
The 100 acres and the mineral rights.
Nice. Very good.
And then I started doing the research. That's all I could do. I didn't. Oh gosh, I was here 2 months before I even went out to look for the mines. I didn't know anybody, and it took me that long. I met a couple of characters that would go in holes that I'm not going in, and we started exploring. It was the second year before I realized what hole actually was the gold mine. I referred to that as the Porcupine Pit because it was full of porcupines. I thought the first hole that we came across was the actual gold mine, and that was a water tower. It was the second year before I found the Wellington mine. It was the 5th year before I found the copper mine. So 5 years just doing the ridge, and this year, lo and behold, didn't I go and find another one?
Yeah.
So I don't know who the company is that belongs to this new one, but they were mining rare earth, so that's probably why they failed.
Well, we met when you got on Gold Prospectors.
Yes.
That's been 5-6 years ago.
Oh yes, because I was going out to Alberta in the winters, and
Right. Right. And you were just
Was
you had just gotten into it and were trying to find as much information as you could. And some miners that come up and work your property for you, help you out.
Well, they kept coming, like geologists and stuff, and they were never honest. And that was
Right.
the big thing. You know, they come and they'd knock on the door,
I remember we
and
talked
it
about
would be, oh, I hear there's some mines here, and you know, can we go and have a look? And it was like, sure, yeah, right on, okay, let's go. And then, you know, I'd get out to there, and then once they got onto the ore pile, and 1 minute they're looking at it, and oh, it's pyrite, and then they would drop it down. But then 2 days later, they would be phoning me to purchase what they called the tailings piles. Well, to me, tailings was what's at the end of the operation. And everything was still either in back of the crusher that waiting to be processed, or still up at the mines waiting to come down to the crusher. So, okay, well, you're not being honest with me. You know, those are ore piles, they're not tailings piles. So then for the next few years, whenever these guys would come, I wouldn't show them the whole site. I might show them the Phoenix mine, but I wouldn't show them the Richardson, or, you know, I'd show them the Harding shaft. Might make them walk all the way down to the Union and make them work for the day. After a while, though, they started to get honest. And then it would be, I'm the geologist of Goldcorp, or I'm the geologist of Strike, or, and I met some great people, but I wasn't into mining. That still wasn't.
I know you were into the pretty rocks.
Well, it wasn't until, because they kept telling me that everything was pyrite, but this didn't change. It didn't change color. It stayed the same color all the time. So 7 years. And some of it was in water, and it never changed. And it's non-magnetic. There was just things about it that's not like the pyrite that I have down there in those rock shops. So I finally took it in for assay. And there's I think one of the pictures I might have sent to you, Ed, that has Kenny hanging on a rope removing out a drill rod.
Yeah.
Okay, we really started to explore that Harding shaft. I wanted to know, okay, first off, there's a huge wall in there that is chalcopyrite. It's as red can possibly be, and it's bigger than me, with my arms stretched out as far as I can, and it's bigger than me. And it's in a little alcove, so I'm trying to figure out, well, why would they be digging into there? That didn't make sense. And, you know, then on the opposite side, there was another alcove that went down to the crosscut, but there was drill rods that were up in the ceiling. And why would they be drilling out that if they're going down into the crosscut? So we pulled out that rod, and then that's where this big silver gold colored deposit is. It'd be, again, feet. I know it's inches thick because I've taken inches off so far. And we took that in for assay, along with just the red gauzen. And there was just some sitting on a ledge, and we just scraped it up off the top into a bag and take that into. And I had said to the guys, you know, what kind of numbers should we be getting on this? Because, you know, like, I'm getting 8 grams, 9 grams, you know, and everybody's all excited, and it's, well, no, you need ounces before you're going to mine for gold. Like, you know, this is no good. So then it's a long wait. It's a 3-week wait before you get those assays back. And you can do a lot of daydreaming and drive yourself nuts in the meantime. So the lady finally sent the papers back, and the silver that everybody was calling pyrite is it's 37 different minerals, but it was 50 grams of gold. So it worked out that we've got 2 ounces in the sulfide, like that, the rock that I had showed, the silvery stuff,
Right.
is 2 ounces of gold, 8 ounces of silver, 11 ounces of copper, and then 33 other minerals, a lot of rare earth, tin, chrome, strontium, lithium, cadmium. There's some nasty things here, but there's also some really beautiful things here too. So now it's the sulfide that's so important. And the most I've gotten done with that so far, I put all my rocks into a little cement mixer. I think it has a 3-hour runtime. It's a little gas. It's old. And it's full of copper chain, bolts. I load it full of rock, start it up, and when it runs out of gas, then it's ready to dump. From there, I run that through a little bit of a sluice, and then I get sulfide. Once I get all of my heavies out from there, I drop in a magnet and take out everything that's magnetic, and then I've got to put it into the barbecue and give it a cook. I need to get a bigger, better pan because the flakes are coming out, and the inside of my barbecue looks really nice, but I don't have any gold in the bottle yet. It's there. It's just not where I want it to be.
Does that mean you're going to have to remove it chemically?
Leach it.
That seems to be the best way to go. When people come up, I let them try everything. I let them try their metal detectors because I want to know what is the best metal detector. And so
And where's the nuggets?
Those are there. Those are in that ore pile.
So,
saying.
so is your ore body free milling and sulfide? Nice. Good of both worlds.
Imagine this ore pile. They gave me one ore pile, the small one that's at the Harding shaft. The guy told me he estimated that at about 35 ton. He figured would be he figured it'd take 2 dump trucks to move off that one ore pile, and there's 35 that are up at that one spot. So if you're on there and you're looking at it on a rainy day, it doesn't look like much. Just one truck. You hit it on a sunny day though, when the sun starts dancing across the top of that thing, it's just crazy. So this is 150 years old that it's been sitting there naturally leaching away. And that's how that gold deposit came about. When it rains, this stuff creates its own acid. And it just, it eats through.
I was
So-
on one of your videos, I saw you talking about the quartz fizzy. If it fizzes in water, if it fizzes in water, it's got gold in it, right? Is that what you said?
No,
No.
what's happening is
Okay.
when these geologists,
Okay,
when
go
these
ahead.
geologists, when the geologists come, they always have their little bottle of acid, right?
Right.
And they do stupid things. Some people lick rocks. I wouldn't do that either. But they always pull out their little bottle of acid. And I asked the guy one day, I said, what are you looking for? Why are you doing that? And the quartz here has a certain amount of calcite in the quartz. So I assume that's why they called it quartzite. And it will fizz. Not a lot of fizz, but you'll get a little fizz. And what he told me was, if the quartz doesn't fizz, there's no gold, and don't waste your time. I had to have the black lines, the hornblende. I had to have, or iron. I had to have the red staining of the gauzen, and I wanted to have a little bit of fizz in my quartz. And the quartz fizzes.
You got fizzy quartz. Cool.
But it's the calcite in the quartz. It's carbonated quartz, I guess is the
Right.
best way.
Yeah.
the calcite that's fizzing, not the quartz itself.
Right.
But that was a fun video. That was done by Caver. There's a gentleman named Me Miner. His name is Greg McCarter. He does brilliant videos. But he did one. They were here just about a month or so ago, and he did one with one of the pinpointer metal detectors. Because metal detectors here make too much noise. You won't find gold. You'll find bullets. You might find beer caps or something.
A lot
But
of mineralization.
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, right.
it's just everywhere. So, and he had this little pinpointer, and on his video, he's running it over the rock. It's not picking up anything at all. And then he puts a firecracker down into a hole, and the rock goes scooting across the yard, and he goes and brings it back, and then he crushes up the rock. But once he crushes and pans that rock, he's got gold in his pan, and his pinpointer picks it up.
Hmm.
So it's fine. It's there. How much work somebody's going to have to do to it? I have, right now we're on, I think, number 13 that want to do a deal. They'll do all the work and split the gold. That comes from the Gold Rush shows. Yeah. Everybody wants to be a miner for a day, so I say, okay, come
Right.
on out and be a miner for a day. And a lot of the exploration actually gets done that way. I've met some brilliant people that have put a lot of time and effort into researching gold in North America. They could tell you about, what from the glaciers left here and ended up in your backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not giving it back either, Tim.
Nope. Keep looking for it.
You're welcome for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you have
I don't know
your
what else. I don't know what else we sent on that, but
our
Some
buddy
diamonds
Wolfie
and
lives
other
nearby you, doesn't he? Our buddy Wolfie.
who's that?
Wolfie.
Oh my gosh, Wolfie is amazing, and
And his cousin Joe lives right down the road from you. He's been talking you up a storm if you haven't noticed in chat. Joe Sweet.
okay. Well, now in all fairness, Joe is my number one. Let's go in the hole and see what's in there. Joe was with me the day we discovered this.
Your
Every adventure that I've gone on out here, when I've discovered anything, Joe has always been right there with me. And when we started this, you couldn't get through the woods. The cedar trees were so thick and dense that all you could do was duck your head and run and just bust your way through branches. That crusher building out there, that thing is huge. And we walked past it 4 times and didn't see it.
Never saw it. Was it a stamp mill? The old, like a 10 stamp mill and stuff?
It's massive. It's limestone. The walls are 3 feet thick of cut limestone. The thing is just a beautiful building. But the branches, the cedar trees were so big. Like my cedar trees are, the oak trees are 36 diameter. My cedar trees will be anything from 18 to 24. They're probably a good 100 feet high. You need a few people to get your arms around them. So it's taken over everything. And like you just couldn't see.
Tim, our buddy Wolfie,
yes.
He wants me to ask Tim's opinion on a dog that pushes you off the beaver dam while yet trying to run the sloughs. While you're trying to run the sloughs.
Okay, I had this wonderful dog named Zach. He was just super smart, German Shepherd Collie mix. I lost him last year. due to old age, and he was just couldn't move. Broke my heart, but at the same time, he had the best life ever for a dog, I tell you.
Oh.
So somebody had said, well, you should get another one. And I'm thinking, well, it might be a better idea. I'll get a dog now while I still have Zach. And I got this little Ellie. Sweet little Elizabeth was her name. And when I saw her, she looked like this little polar bear. And silly me doesn't think a little polar bear is going to get into a big one.
That's what
So
happens.
she's a Turkish Akbaş.
Turkish.
And
what?
Ellie, it's called a Akbaş. So if you're familiar with the big Pyrenees, the great white,
Right.
big white Pyrenees, okay, add another 4 inches onto that, and probably another 50 pounds, and you got an Akbaş. They're great for protecting wildlife. Ellie wasn't. Ellie has her own mind. And when I used to drive into town, and I'd see this guy driving down on a motorcycle with a sidecar, and there'd be this big white dog driving in the sidecar, and that was Frosty, and Frosty got lost. Frosty belonged to Wolfie. And Frosty got lost, and we never did find him, but it was breaking my heart. And at the same time, Ellie was eating my brand new glasses, 2 pairs of shoes, the couch, 1 armchair, and I just one day said, Wolfie, how would you like to have another dog? And I miss her, but I love my couch more.
Wolfie says she's 90 pounds now.
Oh my gosh, she was that when I gave him to her. I'm telling you, I had to take her. We took her in for shots. 6 months. I took her in for shots, and they had to weigh her. That was for flea shot medication and stuff. And she's a big girl. You don't mess with her.
I just pulled a picture up of that dog. Wow. Oh, they're shepherd dogs, huh?
Oh, Zach was the one that made most of the trails for me.
Go, dog, go. Get that stick.
Well, we would get out there, and he couldn't go. If there were loggers, he had to stay home because they cut the tree. He thinks that that's his tree to take down. So, they cut it, and he tries, and he will pull in a log, like cedar logs, but it'd be nothing for him to drag one and pull it all the way to the house and then drag it all the way back out again. I used to lose at least a cord of my firewood every winter. In the spring, I'm getting low on wood, and it'd be, no, don't worry, there's enough out there in the yard, we'll go gather it up. And sure enough, there's another cord laying around in the yard. He was such a smart dog. But if somebody came to the house, and if he was here at the house and I wasn't, and if they let him out, then it would just, where's Mom? And it didn't matter where I was in the woods, that dog would take you directly to whatever mine we happened to be at that day. He was brilliant. And if we were making trails, then, and it got really packed and super dense, then you just, no, I'm not going that way. And he'd come up and he would bust you through another trail. But it seemed, we're going along and we're moving from the Richardson, now we're going to the Wellington, and let's bust more trails. And Zach would take off into a direction. I'd lose him for a minute, but it seemed every time that I'd catch up with him, oh, look, here's another mine. I don't know if he had the nose for something out there or what it was, but he found a few bears for us. Joey found one once. That was a good fun afternoon. You don't go out there and yell names. That's not so good. And if you get a really bad smell all of a sudden come up against you, run fast.
Sasquatch?
Well, they say bears stink. So I figured, okay. There's porcupines. That's something. There's porcupines in all of the mines where the gold was. There's porcupines living in them. And
They're
there's
getting in and
also,
out somewhere, huh?
well, Parker Schnabel's grandfather said that the very first year gold rush, that porcupines and silver birch were synonymous with gold.
Huh.
And you know, the ore pile has silver birch and porcupines. The copper mine is silver birch and porcupines. The same as at the Union, the same as at the Wellington. And then there's two other spots that has silver birch but no mines. So I think that'd be a good spot to dig next.
Take some notes, all you hard rockers out there.
Oh, Parker's grandfather, he was a wise man. And he also said about the red. Now in placer gold, you're probably not going to see that because it's shedded off as soon as it drops out. When you're laying up, like I say lay, I got a nice cozy spot up there, so I just lay on the ground with my shovel and I just scoop up the mineral. It's just free gold at that point. It's just sitting there. You know, once it's dissolved out from the chalcopyrite and everything else, it's going to be fine. But an ounce is an ounce. Doesn't matter how you get it.
That's what we say. It all adds up.
Yeah.
Except an ounce of dust or flour is pure. 1 ounce nugget's not going to be pure necessarily.
True.
But
smaller
you
it is, the finer it is, the purer it is.
That's right. That's right. I do have a Miller table. I find it very hard to find time to do all.
Take time.
I don't know how you guys can do it.
We get less gold.
Yeah. Right. That's it.
Well, it's all the atmosphere anyway. So, you know, some of the best hunters never bring anything home.
They prospect and then the miners come in.
That's right. Well, the west side of the farm is see, because the mining over there on that copper deposit, that was on the farm adjacent to me. That was on the Fox property, and that's all they ever pulled up out of there was that the iron and the copper. The deposit it's now called the Eldorado Happy Face, and it's a commercial deposit. It's only 11 acres. Belongs to the Sheridan Platinum Corporation. But their deposit cuts into my side. And I noticed that all of those mines, they're all on the south side of the farm. They all go down, 15, 20 feet. Some go a little bit deeper, but most of them I'd go about 15, 20 feet. And then they all travel north, every single one. Whether they go 3 feet north or 17 feet north, they all travel north. So I think the deposit would probably run the full length. And I know that just north of me is what they call the Dingman property. And they're looking for gold in there now. That's California Gold is into there, I think is the name. So it's an interesting area. The first radioactive minerals ever discovered came from here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, on that one video I just watched too, that your Geiger counters go off on the walls.
We beep on a regular basis. Some spots beep a lot more than others, and when they do, then that tells me that there's gold in that spot. There's some things that have happened in the past 10 years that I've noticed, and I suppose a lot of people wouldn't notice it because you don't live on your claim.
Right.
Okay, so I bought here in 2008. In 2010, we had a lot of rain in late fall, like heavy, heavy rain, and then a super cold freeze. You don't think anything of it. Okay, it's winter and put your feet up and get cozy. It would have been, let's say, late January, early February. That's usually when we're going to get our coldest snap will come in that point. And there was a loud bang. It was so loud and hard that the house shook. I thought I blew up the furnace. I was scared. Like it shook the house. We go out that year, that following spring. I didn't blow up the house, by the way.
That's good.
But now the first year when we discovered all of these things, and let's get back to my bud Joe Sweet. We tied a rope on Joey inside the gold mine. We tied a rope on Joe and we dropped him down the incline shaft. And we figured we went probably about 30 feet. We did pull him back up, obviously. But ever since that big bang, the water now stays in the incline shaft inside the gold mine. Whereas 20 feet away, 70 feet down, there's no water. So that kind of told me that something dropped. And at one point we used to be able to run around inside the cave and come up through other holes. We can't do that anymore. We can still just have the main cave. So I knew that something oxidized and something dropped. I didn't know oxidized at the time. I thought perhaps it was just the crosscut had finally collapsed. But what happens is the leaching. We get back to the leaching. It causes everything to oxidize. And I've got. Let's see if I grabbed one and brought it in. No, one of the rare earth minerals or rocks that I pulled out. It was serpentine on the outside. But it had a little bit of red staining. I pull it out, I break it open, and the whole inside is this light colored rust powder. And you could just blow it and it would just blow away. Wow. And the more I cleaned the rock, the more this powder just kept coming out. And then I was left with finally the rock, but a silver flaky mineral that was all on the underneath, and you could see I refer to it as movement. Anything that at one time was molten, to me that's movement. I could see the direction that it would have gone, and you could see that in this rock. Well, what I pulled out was rare earth. I'm at the top of where we pulled a rather assayed mineral from. When there's a video on YouTube that I put up called The Richardson Gold Mine Reveals Its Secret. And that's Ken and Jeremy inside the crosscut. And when Jeremy gets all the way down to the end where the incline shaft the entrance should be, it's the exact same light brown, rusty powdered. The incline shaft has collapsed, which I assumed. And but it's the same mineral that I had up at the very top. The fissure that shows on the outside of the gold mine runs inside the gold mine, and Joe had confirmed when we dumped him down the hole. We do love him, by the way. But
I see you brought him back up, so that's good.
When we dumped him down the hole, it was to find out on this vein, and this vein runs right the way down the incline. They were following two veins. They only removed one. The other one is still there. So the rust material that was up at the top is the exact same that's down at the bottom. So now I'm walking around, and oh look, we have a dip in the ground here, and it's dipped over there, and it's dipped over there. And so these are all, they weren't there 3 years ago, but they're there this year. Last year we had rain every single day. That old mines that they had filled in have now washed open. And areas that, it would have been flat ground or maybe a 1 foot, 2 foot pile of rock is now dropped down to a 6 foot hole. Ooh. So things are oxidizing underneath me, and whenever that happens, that's what happened to create that gold cave.
Cool.
I
So-
think if I was in a hard rock area or zone, that's one of the first things I'd be looking for would be funny little holes that don't make sense.
Right.
Would you mind taking some phone calls if anyone calls after this commercial break, Kim?
Sure. If they come through, absolutely.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break, and then after this, we'll open up the phone lines so you all know what to do. We'll be right back.
Adventure, mystery, discovery. Gold panning is more than a search for beautiful rocks. Panning is a thank you to amazing new places all around the world. It is an experience for all ages, bringing families closer together, and filling a sense of excitement when life has grown dull. The Gold Claw pan makes it easier to take part in the journey than ever before. This expertly designed pan is made for any skill level and any age. All you need is an explorer's heart and the passion for discovery. Begin your family's gold story now. Order your Gold Claw pan today and see where the adventure takes you.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Tuesday Night Hangout Live with my guest and co-host, Toledo, Jess, and Dano. If you're new here, thanks for joining us. We have our special guest, Kim Woodside, the owner of the Eldorado Experience in Eldorado, Ontario, Canada. Phone lines will be opening. Please give her a call, ask your question, and let it begin.
Okay. All right. Here's a question. Here's a question for you. So you say you do day trips for, what do you say, $25 a day?
Yep.
Okay. Do you do like weekend trips, or you do longer trips than that, or do anything like that?
I have some people that would live here if I would let them live here.
Oh, I'm sure you've got a lot of people that would do that. There's one. Adam is probably one of them.
I've had one mineral club that actually came for the day. Usually people, like, I'm here every day. If somebody calls and says, hey, can we go? Then absolutely, we're going to go. And the canopy is so thick out there, it doesn't matter if it rains. We're not going to get rain. There's beautiful camping around here. I have campsites made, but I don't have zoning yet or approval. So when my friends come, then we can do whatever we want. I guess that would be the best way of putting it.
Right. A friend reunion.
We're all friends in the gold world.
Right.
There you are.
So I remember you had a mineral store. You still have that?
I still have them. There's over 40. We figured about 40 ton of mineral here. I've got gold from Kirkland Lake. It looks really weird. It doesn't look like gold at all. I've got nickeline. I got nickel. I got rare earth. I have asbestos. We're not allowed to trade that stuff though. What happened was I got a mineral collection from a gentleman that started working for Lafarge Quarries 57 years ago. So the minerals that I have are all from his collection that were collected before rock hounding even started. There's beautiful pieces. Here's I'll show you one that I have. Right now, this you can go and collect on your own. I don't know if you can see that or not. See the beams on that? Okay, this is malachite. This is from the copper mine.
Malachite.
Yeah, well, it's copper ore.
Right.
But she's going green now from the oxidizing. Hematite, that's another nice one. It's heavy too, though. Oh, I almost knocked me out of my chair. All right. This is hematite. I think this might be about, I don't know, I say about 15 pounds.
Well-
I'm not allowed to bring rocks home anymore because it blew out my shoulders. So
So you shouldn't even be
Once
picking
again-
that up. So what do people do with that? I mean, do they slab it and polish it, or do they just keep it as specimens?
I think so. I know with the hematite, the John Higgins, the meteorite guy, he was telling me one evening that at the Tucson show, one of the booths that was close to his, the guy was just selling out like crazy with slices of hematite.
Really?
With this stuff though, because it's been exposed for so many years, then you get hematite, hemimorphite, goethite. There's calcite in there too, of course. But nothing is what it's really supposed to be. It's just aged so well. And one of the rocks I pulled out of there, I dragged it out 2 years ago. I didn't have enough room to bring it home. It was just too heavy. And so I left it. And then I was going to bring it home last summer. Last summer rained, and I still bringing home everything else. And again, I left it out there. I posted that picture of the rock just a few weeks ago. Because of the color change, it changed so much, and it started going blue. So it's very radioactive, and the yellow staining that came up on it is gumite. So, the minerals that are here in the woods, like the diopside crystals, or when we find calcites, they're just as beautiful as any that come out of Herkimer. I can't call them Herkimers because I'm in Eldorado, but they're just as beautiful. Water clear. What is real gar? Just the list it's endless. If you're not finding it in the rock shop, then you're going to be able to find it in the fields, but you'll probably find a nicer specimen out there in the woods.
Huh.
So when people come and they pay their $25, I encourage everybody you have to take a specimen from off that ore pile. Find your favorite piece. I don't care how big it is or how small it is, but you have to have one. It's a historical mine. There's only one other deposit like this, and that's in the Rand, South Africa.
Wow.
Wow.
There's not many places where gold is associated with radioactive minerals. The government here want me to designate it for scientific interest, but then that means I have to protect it, and I want to dig a big hole.
we have a caller on the line. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
How's it going? This is Adam, California Gold Rush.
Hey, Adam.
how's it
How
going?
you doing?
How's it going?
Good.
Tim,
Hi, Alan.
Adam.
Adam. Tim, did you do a YouTube video at some point?
I haven't done any. This is I'm being really brave doing this here tonight. I'm okay one-on-one out there in the woods, but usually when you put a camera in front of me, I'll find somebody else to stand behind. There's some good videos that people are posting when they come out.
Okay.
Some I've really liked. Some it just didn't make sense, but I'll try
I've
to get
actually
more.
I've watched one at some point. That's why I knew I had seen it before.
Did you see did you see the video in the crosscut?
Yes, I believe so. I watched it a while back. I would say probably about a year ago.
I'm sorry, what was that, Adam?
There's a couple videos. There was another video that was done a couple years ago where that geologist come in, was showing you around, telling you what you had. I don't remember what his name was. That was been a few years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, he's a mineral collector. His name is Mick Gordon, and yeah, that was the first video, and then I learned that just because you're happy with something, don't put on a video ad on Facebook, because next thing you know, you're promoting somebody else's video.
Yep.
So
yeah, I love the geology in your area.
Usually, it's crazy here.
Yeah.
I don't think they have any idea half the stuff that we still have here.
It's funny you say that because what's that? I was just gonna say it's funny you say that because in New England, where I'm from, we have a lot of the same geology of what you're talking about here, and it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like a lost, forgotten thing that people just don't know about. You know, a lot of these properties around here that people have gold mines on them, and they don't even know.
If you were to take a big, like I'm starting to realize that I have to look at a bigger picture and not just what's here in the yard. Because this event that happened, it didn't just happen here in Eldorado. We're going back to before the continents even separated. So if you take a look of where you are in New England and you line that all and put us all back into one great big mass.
Like Pangea, when we were back in Pangea?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I think we should start taking a look at how things were then before it split up. Because if you take a look at the Buckens deposit there in Newfoundland, massive sulfide deposit, that runs the full Appalachian range. Yep. Starts in Newfoundland, comes up in Nova Scotia, kicks on south. Yep. So I think we should start looking at that, and not just on glacier deposit. Maybe the glacier put it there onto the top, but I think there's bigger down below. I think we just haven't looked at it. I think sulfide is the answer.
Yep. I'm 4 minutes away from pretty much exactly what you've been describing this whole time. It's almost the same exact. You know, it's a little bit of a difference, but it's different contact metamorphism that might have happened in this area.
I think that's the big thing. What I look for red. That's the #1 color. As soon as I see a burgundy red in anything, as soon as I see birch trees, then I look for burgundy. Well, not if it's on somebody's front lawn, but you know, if I see if I see groves of birch trees growing, I'm going to go and take a look to see what is around it. If there's any kind of red staining into there, then you got to look. And if somebody, this is the biggest lesson that I've learned. Nobody knows jack about pyrite, because that's what they kept telling me that it was. And you look at these different deposits. Harold Enger, oh my gosh, I love that man. He was the one that I saw pictures he had posted, and the rocks looked identical to what I had here. And it was Harold that told me, learn your sulfides. Well, if I had kept going around looking for what looks like a shiny gold ring, I wouldn't be talking to you guys tonight. I think the sulfide is the thing. When what you're finding in what could be a placer deposit. Is it, or is it because it was sulfide and the sulfide's decomposed?
Yeah, there's more gold locked up in sulfides in the world than there is that can just be free milled out, for sure.
Absolutely. This aqua regia that they're using now, geez, you know, I got a kid that comes up here and he does it out there on the ore pile.
Yeah.
You know, he tries to pull on his poker face. And he's like, oh, no, I'm not getting anything. But, you know, like, when he starts to dance, you can't hide it, you know. So,
Yeah.
The eyes give it away, don't they?
And look at Whitwater's
I
Rand
think we
in
just
Africa.
have to get-
That's the
I
largest
think we just
producing
have to
gold
get
mine in the
braver
world.
with basement. We got to get braver with the basement chemistry.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
I remember missing most of those classes, but you know, and that's aqua regia is the way to go. I have a furnace. Where's my piece? I made a piece in my little furnace. I found a blob. Okay, laying in the ore pile one day, and I picked up this rock. It'd be about this size, right? And I brought it home because it's really heavy. And I brought it home and I weighed it, and it was 4 ounces. And I wanted to keep it because it was sulfide and it looked cool. And my son kept telling me, break it, we'll put it in the furnace. And it's like, no, this could be a nugget. I'm going to keep it. But he eventually won, and we crushed it up, and I didn't know how to smelt. So I didn't know what we were doing either. So we took the material and we mixed it in with some borax, put it in the furnace, and I came up with, and this was my little, this is all I have left of it. But it's now going blue. So that was 3 years ago. It's metal. Might be something else into there too. So this is my experience with smelting.
Oh, it sounded like
We
a
don't play
coin.
with that anymore either.
Yeah,
It
it
sounded-
did.
Didn't it sound like a coin? Is it copper?
That's exactly. There has to be copper in it because it was going green first. Like the same as the malachite was the first colors I was getting, and then I noticed now it's starting to go blue, which would be the azurite, would be the
That's
second.
a really neat patina on it, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, it sounded like a coin.
haven't made any more. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow, cool.
I'm rich. Maybe not that way.
Well, Kim, I'll let somebody else call in. I just want to say I think what you're doing up there is amazing, and it's very interesting. I'm glad that you're on the show tonight.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And come and visit. Come and visit. I'll do this for a few more years.
I will. I'll try to get up there. I'm going to try to do a Canada trip at some point.
Yeah, she's on my bucket
I
list
think you
too.
have to. Before,
Yeah, mine too.
They don't let us Americans in very easy.
Oh.
well,
The hard part is getting back.
You're gonna have to come. You're gonna have to come and visit before they put a tariff on our rocks.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can get them back now. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't.
All right,
I don't
well, have a
the
great
same, shipping. You too. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
We don't have the same shipping up here that you guys have. We don't have that flat rate.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yep,
I don't.
know.
I don't ship rocks. And I would never know what to send somebody. Jess, I wouldn't know what to send. I'd be so afraid that I'd send something down and then just, oh, you'd never talk to me again.
Rats.
No.
So I guess I
just have
can't get no samples sent to me then.
I've been trying
Well, I
for a
got-
while.
I would love some of that stuff on myself. I guess I have to get up there. Oh my God.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
It's
Hey,
only
look,
about-
we have
about
the
a
best.
10-hour drive from you, Ed.
No, I'm 2 hours from Toronto.
2 hours from Toronto. Okay,
Yep.
farthest I've been up into Ontario was to Blue Mountain ski area. I believe it's on the shore of some bay up there. Above, I went to Toronto and headed north till I hit water again.
That's on the Georgian Bay.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, see, if you went east instead, you would have been here.
Oh, okay.
So you went further to get to Georgian Bay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, so coming up from New York, you cross over at Ivy Lee, and where it's at Alexander Bay. And I'm 3 hours from Alexander Bay. That's in New York, isn't it? Pennsylvania. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I know that when I'm driving through, it's border crossing is it's called Ivy Lee here, but it's Alexander Bay on the south. Syracuse. So yeah, New York.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Syracuse is I think 5 hours from here.
So I'd have to go more towards like Niagara Falls and stuff and up that way.
Niagara Falls is 6 hours west of me.
Okay.
So there, Niagara Falls is on one end of Lake Ontario. I'm down at the opposite end.
Okay. Wayne said, or I could have Wayne Wagner pick it up for me. Sure,
yeah,
Wayne.
Wayne goes by there all the time.
Yeah, he's a truck driver from Ohio, a fellow Buckeye chapter member, and part of the Patron team here at Flashing Your Pan, him and his wife. He goes up into Ontario and Quebec all the time.
Well, send him up.
There you go, Wayne.
Send him up, and I'll send some rocks down with him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thousand Islands is 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm Wayne, I'm a half an hour north of Belleville. So he'll be traveling through there.
I think Joe said that earlier, that you were above Belleville. Sorry about the echo, everybody. We tried.
It didn't work.
Well, you're in the Great White North, wilds of the Great White North, so.
Oh yes.
Or right now it's the wilds of the hot and humid north.
The temperature yesterday was, okay, I think we talked in at 102.
Wow.
Yeah, and
How was your humidity?
This has been going on. That's with the, okay, we were 32, and then we had the Humidex put us at 40. So 40 is, that would put us at 120. The Humidex put us at 120.
Jeez.
We're at 102, just normal temperature.
Sounds like what Adam was talking to me about on the phone. He's in New England right now, so. Wow.
Well, Whoopi just told Wayne to meet him at Tim Hortons on the corner of Highway 7.
Brilliant, yes.
There you
But
go.
there's a McDonald's right across. McDonald's is a better coffee, well, every time.
All right, I finally get my rocks, Kim.
That's right, you'll get your rocks.
After 5 years.
Hey, and just imagine if he's coming up on a truck, how many I can send down.
Imagine how many I'd take.
Load him up.
We'd be in business for sure.
That would be fun. Hey,
Yeah. That'd be nice though to do a big group weekend.
That would be
Just
fun.
go crazy. Yeah.
That would be a blast.
Well, it'd be a lot easier once we have to get our new IDs. So,
Yeah, that's true. Hey, we tried the other day. This is okay. So last week, a young gentleman came up, and normally, if people they'll ask if they can go and pan in the creek, and I think that's just a waste of time. Like you got an ore pile right there. Go to the ore pile, and pan it when you get home.
Right.
So my thinking is well, this young kid comes, and he wants to pan in the creek. So it's like, sure, okay, not a problem. And it's been so dry, I've only got just a trickle of water in there. And I took him down right where the creek does a 45 bend, nice sharp bend. The entire creek, we found out, is all quartz. But I didn't know, looked black to me, but it's all quartz and sulfide is running through it. That was the first that we've ever gone in to pan. But what I found out is we're allowed to use little dredges in there. So that's what we set up. And he spent a couple of hours just washing down the rock and got it into a nice little pile. I think in total he might have had maybe a half an hour or an hour that he was actually dredging material. A lot of it was getting his hoses unplugged and stuff. But he did get gold in his pan. He took the mats home, and he panned them today and sent me a picture. And it's tiny specks, but it is there. So yeah, he wants to come back on Thursday, and that's going to be his day. Is in that creek dredging. I'm not going. I sat down there the other day. It was nice and cool. And then a snake came along. And that wasn't cool.
You were out of there.
And I just got calmed down after that one. And then Joey says, "Look, there goes another one." And when the second one went, and then that's it. Like, I'm done. I'm not going. So no more panning in the creek.
They don't bother you.
Yeah, they do. They really do. Those were the water snakes. They're it was long. It was a good size, 4 feet long. We've got some little guys that are the size of a pencil. Those snakes don't bother me. The big ones, though, I don't care for. So I don't go opening or pulling over rocks.
You have poisonous snakes up there?
No.
Oh man.
Not in this part.
Nothing to worry about that.
They do have the Mississauga rattler, but it's closer down towards the Niagara area. I've got the water snakes, garter snakes, a little tiny guy called a Decay's snake. A snubbed nose snake that's on the endangered list, and then I think it's called a rat snake. They get pretty big, and then there's another one that's a big brown one. I don't know, didn't stick around long enough to get acquainted with that one. It sent a few people running that guy. He was big. But they eat all the mice. Oh, and Wolfie says, "Well, don't tell me that. I didn't need to know that, Wolf."
Well,
He says we have
Water
moccasins.
moccasins. Yeah, that ain't good.
No.
Yeah, I didn't need that.
Don't say that, because that blows my theory about men being here this high up in Ohio. So
I don't know. Rat snake is the black. Okay, yeah. Okay, we have those. Well, okay, what is the snake that's got the little diamonds on the back of it? Kind of reddish colored diamonds. A tan colored snake, nice little red diamonds. Is that a corn snake?
That's what I was thinking.
Milk snake? No, it's not a rattlesnake. And it was dead. It didn't.
Oh,
It
that
was,
was a good snake.
It was a good snake, yeah. Porcupines, coyotes. We have fishers. Snapping turtles, they'll start hatching out here within about 2 weeks' time. No, I don't have timber rattlers, James. Don't tell me that.
Caribou and moose?
I have moose. Someone said we had elk. I've never seen any. I'm overrun with deer. I have so many. And I let somebody hunt 10 years ago. And they told me that, well, we're just going to walk the dogs. I didn't know what that meant. And later I asked them after hunting season if, did you get any deer? And yes, they did. Him and all of his friends, they took out 14. I was so upset that that's it. Nobody ever hunts on my property again. And then I got rack stacker deer feed, and I planted that everywhere. And like, I've got so many deer here, it's crazy. Usually, like I said, in the field will be 9 to 12 doe. The bucks, they're big. One lives up there in the copper mine. You hear them. I don't see too many, but you hear them. They usually bait for the bear. I haven't seen any sign of any yet this year. I'm not looking for it though.
I'd be looking just so I know where he's at.
Yeah.
Wolfie says the elk are over at his place. Okay, so that makes sense. And I've got a huge big marsh beside me, so I wouldn't be surprised with what there might be moose crawling around. I've just never seen any. But I've got
marsh, so you have beavers maybe? Beavers and minks?
Yeah. All of those. Beaver at the creek, they usually block that off. The turtles like to lay their eggs in my driveway. What else do we run across? Well, there's always the deer. Endless supply of butterflies. I got those big yellow swallowtail butterflies. They're the size of your hand. And they're in the heaviest part of the woods, the driest, thickest part of the woods, and there go butterflies.
Wow.
Yeah, just all the time. They're just crazy. I have a lot of birds, but rare birds. There's this whole area is referred to as the land between, and it's where the Great Lakes and the Canadian Shield merge. So, someone's typical yard down along by the lake, and they might, I've got a couple cardinals, and I've got a few blue jays, and it's like, great, because I've got 100. And like everything that's here, it's almost like it's like a nursery. We have our own little skink. There's just an overabundance of everything. I don't get the dragonflies. I don't get the black flies that Wolfie has. Sorry, I get the dragonflies. I don't get the mosquitoes, and I don't have a problem with black flies or deer fly. Whereas other areas that I can go to, and you're going to get eaten alive. If I go down to the creek, you're going to have at least 20 dragonflies. Wherever you go, you're going to have dragonflies follow behind because you're going to stir up any kind of food they might get. So everything is kind of overkill. Cardinals, and orioles, and songbirds. Do you remember when you were a kid and you used to sleep out in the tent and it was the birds woke you up the next morning? And you never hear that now? That's because they live in Eldorado. It's crazy. It's a crazy place.
And I just thought it was because of my pride of cats we have. So now I know they're all up there.
Tomorrow I have a group coming out. They live north of here in a town called Apsley. They just bought a property 2 years ago, and while walking around on their property, they think that they found quartz, but they think that they might have also found gold because they're again into pyrite. So they're coming tomorrow just to see what the rock and everything looks like for when they go back to their place so they can check to find out if they have the same. My big thing is always find out if you got your mineral rights.
Right.
And if you don't, find out if you can get them, and then go from there. We can only go without it. You can only go 10 feet.
Right.
Hey, neighbor.
Bats I don't have. Hey, Wolfie. How you doing?
What did you?
He's not at the
What do you
cottage
do?
anymore.
I'm stuck in town still, Kim.
Hey, Wolfie.
How are you guys doing?
Hey,
Good,
Wolfie.
good.
Good.
He made it home.
Yeah, I've been here for a month.
No, I thought you were.
You know I'm
I thought
not
you were at
happy
the cabin.
about
Oh, what was that?
Do we have echoing from Wolfie's side now, too?
Yeah. Oh, almost had him there for a second.
Come here. Ellie wanted to say hi to Kim.
Oh.
You didn't want to say hi to us, huh?
Hey,
Oh, no,
Wolfie.
here's you guys every week.
Well, we never get to talk to you. You never call us.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even going to come.
So how long you guys known each other?
I don't know, a few years.
I met Wolfie through Joe.
Joe's the culprit, huh?
Yeah, and Joe and Wolfie, you're cousins, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to talk about with Kim since you have her on the line?
I don't know. What are you doing Friday, Kim?
I didn't hear you, Wolfie. Want to say that again?
What are you doing on Friday?
What am I doing on Friday? Okay, hang on. Somebody asked me this. Okay, somebody's coming to have a look in the rock shop in the morning. Afternoon, I'm not doing anything. Are you coming to visit?
Well, I wish. The bike's not on the road. I had the bike off the road year and a half ago.
Oh, I can't hear.
It's probably the stupid microphone.
I'm home. I'm home Friday. Come visit.
There you go.
Well, if I can get up there, I will.
Okay, do that.
Okay, I'm going to get off here. The dogs are starting to kick up.
All right,
Yeah.
Wolfie.
See
Thanks
you later,
for calling
Wolfie.
in.
Yep.
All right, Josh, you can call back. Sorry I hung up on you, buddy. Well, Prospector Josh was calling in at the same time as Wolfie.
So Kim, what is your ultimate goal with your property? You just plan on just keeping it the way you're doing it now, or do you plan on setting up some kind of operation to get all that gold out of there? Or?
Well, what I've done is there is a mining profile that has been done for the property. I've done assays from out of each of the mines that I've found so far. I've done assays, and I've tried to do assays from in a line. Like, I'm not doing it the way the companies would do it, absolutely, but I do know what runs from that gold mine straight north and in that vicinity. So I have tried to do as much as I could on my own. And then, so it's now down in a full mining profile. It's available for options. I was getting mining companies every year would approach me, and finally this year I decided that okay, we'll put it up There's companies that are looking at it. There's one company that is fairly serious in taking over. I'd like to retire and take my rocks and have a museum with my rocks.
That's cool.
Yeah. The gold mining game, like geez, guys, that's hard. It's really
And expensive.
Yes. There's no cheap way about it. You know, and you still gotta have your day job. So
Right.
It'd be a shame if I'd love to see the story of this place, the history of this place, documented and done in a documentary form. I think it's a brilliant story, but at the same time, because of the things that's happening with these dips in the ground, there's different areas that are oxidizing. I know it's collapsing underneath. So it doesn't really make it a safe place for just a little old me or anybody else to have, for that matter. I think it's time that it should be mined.
We have another caller on the line, Kim.
I have. Hi.
The Prospector Josh. Josh, how you doing?
Hi guys. Wow, Kim is such a delight, man. Wow, I mean, her soul is like super bright, and even through Skype, it's like beaming. You're an amazing woman.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
my
cool,
ego's
cool.
now gone.
Well,
my
good.
head's blown.
Yeah, I've been watching your back cam, and it looks like the reflection of the computer behind you. It looks like animal eyes.
I saw you.
Well, she is out in the woods. It may be animal eyes back there.
I know. I've been watching.
No,
Where's your nearest gun?
I don't have one. Joey has my gun. Joe Sweet's got the gun.
How many acres are you on, Kim?
I have the original 100 acres to the farm.
Oh my Lord, that's a lot of acres.
Yeah. You can get lost out there.
Yeah.
There's
That would be fun.
There was 14 mines in its day. Like for 2 years, there was 14 companies that tried to mine it.
Give me a kiss.
None of them succeeded. None of them had the money. So
they didn't have any redheads on their crew.
Oh, none at all. They didn't have any islanders there either. It's ideal. You know, actually, this property is ideal for a small construction company. Somebody that's got all of the equipment, like roadside construction. You have all of your equipment and stuff. You don't have to invest into that. And then, because everything you can make money off, like the cedar trees. All right, here's what I got for overburden. My overburden in the trees was appraised at $600,000. The limestone building was appraised at another $400,000. So you already got $1 million just sitting in your overburden. You know, the Alaska boys don't get to do that. They shove theirs aside and then have to put it back when they're done. So just to get yourself going, you're already going to make money off the property.
No wonder you always have a smile on your face.
Always. Even the soil, you know, you got maybe the deepest I've seen yet might be 6 feet. And that's where they put my well. Well, it goes down deeper. The septic system is in a pocket of soil, but everything else is rock. You're 2 inches to maybe a foot, and you're right again into bedrock. Even in the creek, we only went down. I had a little garden shovel, you know, the little for the wife garden shovel. That's the deepest it was going down, and we're into bedrock. And that was just in one one pocket, the snake came up, so we ran from there. But yeah, I'm just in the spring. I wanted to find antlers, deer antlers. So when do you go looking for those? As soon as the snow is gone, right? So
I love antler.
I'm going to the north side. Because that's where all the deer beds are. I'm going to find antlers. And instead, I found the exact same rock as the gold mine. And I go on a little bit further, and there's another rock pile, and it's the exact same rock as the gold mine. I never did find antlers, but I know the next two spots. So the deposit goes right the way through. I get sidetracked a lot here, Josh.
You need to dig more holes on your property, and then the animals will fall in those holes, and then you'll have lots of antlers.
That's a good idea. You've been thinking hard on that one.
I love antlers.
Well, if I find any, I'll post them up there for you for sure.
Anywho.
Now, Josh, I have a question for you. What's the news on the kiddo?
Well, so I'm trying to figure out these whole kid things. I'm supposed to be able to take this off and then put it in the car, and then really easy take it off this and then put it in that. It's driving me insane.
Has it come out of the oven yet?
Oh, negative, sir. We're only in week 21.
Oh,
so
okay. You have a little while.
My future prospector is about the size of a banana.
Okay.
So you got time to figure that car seat out, huh?
Yeah, I've thrown it, so it's definitely past the roughness test. I've thrown it, so.
Busted Knuckles Prospecting says hi, Josh.
Hey, what's up, my man? He's about to have a little daughter, or wait, he might just have had a little daughter. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
excellent.
he's popping one out as well. Congratulations.
I think I remember him saying something.
Hey Kim, I only say this because I'm out of liquor. Do you make your own liquor on your 100 acres of beautiful, rich, overburdened land?
Well, actually, I did once. I made wine. I was getting into wine. So I made a big batch of red wine. I made a big batch of white wine. And I made a big batch of plum wine from the trees. And then my son had a graduation party. And I saw at one point my son with this bottle, and he's holding it up, and like, is it okay? And I'm thinking to take a bottle of wine. Sure, yeah, there's lots in there. And for 2 years, I picked up wine bottles out of my hay field, and I've never made it since. Oh, yes, I have. I don't anymore. So you better hope that's a little girl in that oven, because little boys get into a lot of trouble.
It's a boy, Kim. It's a boy.
Hey, she's going to be his mama's. That's all I can say.
And take after his daddy, huh?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the best thing. That's the best thing is us ladies that have sons.
All right, Kim. It was great talking to you and everyone.
You too, Josh.
I'll see you all next time. And it will take a minute for me to figure out how to hang this up, so bear with me.
Click the red phone.
Congratulations.
You guys say red phone, but all I have is a red heart.
Well, I don't know.
Red heart. I'll give him a red heart. I don't know what that means. My girlfriend might come in. Uh-oh.
Thanks, Josh.
I think I just gave Ed a heart. Sorry, Ed.
I got a heart.
What a guy.
Right on.
Good night, Jeff. All right.
Josh.
Josh.
Yeah, MacGyver Muscle
Have to stay
Man.
connected on that.
Muscle Machine, I mean.
Yeah,
he just
Jeff.
became a grandfather.
I tried moonshine once. Makes me fall down.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to do.
It's not pretty. It's really not pretty. We had a bottle when my girlfriend came up once and a bottle of homemade wine, and we were taking it out to the hill. And we were going to christen the hill. Well, we got out there, we forgot the glasses. So now you have 2 girls and a bottle of wine. Well, we just pass it back and forth. That was a big mistake, and I've never drank up on that hill since.
Yeah, okay, I found it. MacGyver Muscle Machine says he became a grandpa again today. Number 4.
Right on.
Congratulations, Jeff. And congratulations to Sean at Busted Knuckles. I believe his name's Sean. He's having a little girl any day now.
Right on.
Yeah, that's right, James. They'll knock your legs out from under you without a doubt.
Yeah, they will. I'm glad mine are all old.
We're talking about Shine.
Oh, now?
But that
conversation going all over the place. Shine to kids to shine. Yeah. I saw a run from Run for the Hills. Talk
okay,
about that.
So our most prospectors, panners, gold folks, beer drinkers or shine drinkers?
I don't know. I'm not.
Probably do a mixture of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a drinker either. But I will drink some Shine once in a while.
A little, yeah. And a little beer on a good hot day.
Right. But I'm a drinker.
I drink about every 7 years or so. I forget. There's always some kind of a special occasion, a wedding or something, and I just get stupid. And then I swear that I'm never going to do that again. And it seems like, 7 years are up. It's time to get stupid again.
We have our friend from Hookmeister's Prospecting Outdoors on the phone with us. Hey, Hook, how you doing?
What's up, Hook?
Hey, how you all doing up there?
Hey, just coffee. Drink a lot of coffee.
Coffee.
Oh, that I do drink lots of it. Coffee.
Lots of coffee all day long. That's right.
I'm drinking coffee right now.
Yeah, I'm out Little Piece of Paradise at the moment. I was trying to watch the show, but I'm not getting a very good reception. And but I did have one question. I did hear part of the show. She was talking about Parker Snobbles' grandpa and something about porcupines. I couldn't hear a whole lot of it because I wasn't getting good signal, but did she actually know him in person?
No, I watched when Gold Rush came out. This was around the first of that series started around the same time that I bought this property. And so I was really excited. I'll learn off Gold Rush. And so it was the first year with the Hoffmans, and Todd had gone over to visit. Parker was just a young kid. And he was working there with his grandfather. And it was just this one episode where Parker's grandfather, John, I think it was his name, where he had told Todd that silver birch and porcupines were synonymous with gold, and they were at Porcupine Creek. And then I remember mentioning it to Joey, and the gold mine here, for years, we always referred to it as the Porcupine Pit, because it had a family of, there was about 7 porcupines living in there, and they're still there. They're always there.
Wow. Okay.
So the porcupine are where all of the gold mines are, or any of the mines here. There's a porcupine, not necessarily living in the mine. He could be living in a tree that's at the mine, or he could. So the gold mine itself, where the entrance goes down into the mine, there's porcupines living down below there. But then there's also a den that one has dug just up above our head. So if you hit on the rock, you'll hear this thing just nattering at you. He gets quite upset. Sometimes he'll stick his head out. But porcupines are at the copper mine. They're in the attic. There's a couple big old trees, hollow trees, where they're living in, and it's silver birch trees that they're living in. So I just thought it was pretty cool that that's what he had said. And hey guys, look, we've got the same thing here. And that just started the search. So I loved that man. I paid attention. I paid attention to everything he said.
He was probably the only one that I really enjoyed too.
He had some interesting stories. He did. It's just like in our area, a lot of people. I don't know about Jesse and Edmund, but in our area, when you get down into the hard pack and you start finding walnuts, it seems like you start finding pretty decent gold. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird how that stuff works. So.
Well, I know the birch trees grow in high mineral zones. So if you got a grove of birch trees, silver birch especially, if you've got a grove of those growing, there's a lot of mineral in that ground, more so than say 10, 15, 20 feet away from them. So I just assumed that was the indicator. Even if I go back to the copper mine, there's an ore pile that's there. It's massive. Like I couldn't even take a guess at how many feet it's got to be. It's got to be at least 60 feet high. So it's a massive, huge ore pile. The whole pile has birch trees growing the same, but they don't grow anywhere else around. Everything else around there is cedar, except that ore pile, and that's all birch. So
and they're
I don't know if both are there. Both porcupines and birch trees.
Yep. It's weird how some of that stuff kind of goes hand in hand. So, but I'm not going to stay on here too long. I'm out here at the creek, and I'm camping out for the next few days, doing some prospecting myself. And but I wanted to call in because I wasn't able to really hear the show too good. So everybody have a good night, and it was nice talking to you. And hope to see you and hear you on here again sometime.
Thank you. Thanks for calling.
All right. See y'all later. Good night, Ed, Dano, Jesse, and everybody.
See ya, Hook. Good luck on the rivers. Safe dredging.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Good night. All right. That was our friend Jonathan Perret, known as Hook. Let's take a quick commercial break and open back the lines, and we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Michael from iPenForGold.com. You know, I love to receive emails and photos of gold my friends recover from my paper, and they're not too shy to tell me about it either. Just check out some of the reviews, photos, and even videos that they have posted back. Here are some of my not so shy friends. Here are some of my not so shy friends now.
I'm Aaron, and I pan for gold.
I'm Caleb, and I pan for gold.
I'm Ed Marvin, and I pan for gold.
I'm Erica, and I pan for gold.
I'm James, and I pan for gold.
I'm John for gold. I am John, and I pan for gold.
I'm Mark, and I pan for gold. I'm Tony, and I pan for gold.
This is Rob from Nashville, and I pan for gold.
Be sure and check our Facebook page and website for the latest offers, blog articles, and video. I hope it's pay dirt. What's in your pan? I hope it's pay dirt from ipanforgold.com.
All right, this portion of the show is brought to you by our friend MDV at ipanforgold.com. If you're just making it to the show, we have Tim Woodside, the owner of the Eldorado Experience. And pardon the echo, we couldn't get it figured out before the show, and we thought we had it, and we didn't quite do it. But we'll have to have you on again sometime in the near future, Tim, and make sure we have that under control. Right, everybody. Yeah, Robert, there's an echo. It's bad this time.
It looks like we lost Jesse.
Yeah, it did. Jesse.
It's Skype. Skype has never worked good for me here.
Yeah, you were saying that, and I believe it.
Yeah.
But we have been on for 2.5 hours about Kim.
I know.
Time flies when you're having a great time. Maybe we could do it again some other way. We could take care of the echo. When we were in pre-production, it was sounded great. So
you'll have
next time.
The echo's
next time Joe is.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back, Jesse. I'm sorry, Kim.
I said the next time Joe's out, I'll get him to look on my computer. He can get it fixed for me for sure.
There he is. David Villa says it's aliens. I'm not gonna say it's aliens, but it's aliens.
Put tinfoil on their head. They can't scan you.
Here's something then, because once I put up a page for here and I started making connections with others that are have minds and stuff. You know what they all say the same thing is because I had asked one guy. In fact, you don't even have to ask. As soon as you say I want to ask you a question, they'll all tell you that they all have spooks in their minds.
Tommy knockers.
Tommy knockers.
Tommy
Yeah.
knockers.
Absolutely. Well, I get just as many wellness people here as what I get geologists. And, you know, when David puts in aliens, there's some people that do come out here that they make you wonder. Some of them have gotten me a little scared at times because some of the aliens want to cart me away. But, you know, it makes you wonder. There is an energy in this quartz. And you can't deny that because us smart ones know all about quartz watches, and that's how they work, is because of the energy that they give off. I can tell now when I'm walking through along the ridge, I can tell when I'm standing on quartz or if I'm standing on granite. There's just a feeling that you get when you're standing around it. after you've lived on, okay, so I've been 10 years living on a pile of quartz. It's weird. It kind of sounds like you're a nutcase or something, and I don't usually want to announce it out very much, but I can walk through these, I can walk anywhere on this here farm, and then all of a sudden I'll start to get a twitchy feeling, and sure enough, we can dig down into the ground and we'll be into the reds and into the quartz. So
it sounds like you're your own dowsing rod.
Yeah, it's like that now, but that came from the wellness ladies visiting all the time, and like they'd pick up rocks and, oh, you can feel this and you can feel that, and I'm sitting back thinking, oh, you guys got pink hair, like it just that's too weird, but you have to put something to it, because a geologist would look at a rock and he'd throw it down and that's pyrite. And that same wellness lady would come in and she'd pick it up and, oh, this is chalcopyrite, and she would break it down into all of everything that was in there. I started paying attention to some of this, and maybe I shouldn't have, but you can feel it. And yeah, exactly. Quartz radios, the whole shebang. There's a vibration. If you take that little voltmeter thing that you stick in a plug to see if you got electricity going through it, if you stick that onto the rocks here, they'll register. It's cool. Joey was the first that pinpointed that. I don't know if it helps any, more so than say a metal detector.
Well, as a kid growing up, we used to make crystal radios.
Exactly. Yeah. They use it on the space shuttle. It's on the windshield. It's on the windshield of all your jets. There's a difference in the quartz too. As you move from the east side of the farm to the west side of the farm. So the trail itself, the tour itself, is 3.5 kilometers from the start to the far back to the copper mine. So 7 kilometers in total, 5 miles in total we do. The quartz, as I was saying, on the east side is really milky. White, but really like it doesn't look like anything anybody would ever want to pay money for. By the time you get to the gold mine, it starts to get really clear, but it has this gold film over the top of it. And it's a very high vibration into that quartz. As you move towards the west, the quartz then starts to get almost like a spar, and it's just like glass. You break a piece and you're more than likely going to slice your finger along with it. Nasty stuff to use. But that's also when the mineral changes and it starts getting into the rare earth. And then as it goes back down into at the copper mine again, the quartz is back into a milky. So there is a difference on the copper zones and in the gold zone. Peter Fish, tell them about the first ounce of gold that was presented to Queen Victoria. Oh yeah, there's actually 3. When they first discovered the gold here and he fell into the cave, they removed 3 nuggets the size of butternuts. So I think that's about the same size as a walnut. One Marcus Powell kept. One went to the Royal Ontario Museum, and then the other was sent to Queen Victoria. And somebody had said a couple of years ago that we should be able to ask the Queen to have all of her stuff back, but I don't think she's going to give me that piece back. But there is gold of the original discovery here at the museum, and the Queen in England had some.
Well, that would be kind of it would be cool to just at least see it, wouldn't it?
Oh, I think it would be pretty awesome to see. I see it in the rocks that I pick up, like this one here, and if I put my little magnifier loops up in it, and it just looked like little splats. So pyrite doesn't come in little splats.
Oh, it doesn't.
And this also has a fair amount of, it's some of the assays we're reading at 5% platinum. I know I have to do a separate assay for that one in order to find out what the amounts were. But it comes up in it as well. And I always thought that platinum in the blend would give it a splat. So you can see splats all the time. You can pick up any rock and you'll see chalcopyrite. I've never seen a sphere like a normal pyrite sphere. I get galena a lot, and then the rest it's these little splats, like somebody did a drop of solder.
It's funny that you talk about all these different things, all these different minerals in one spot, and typically when we're talking to people, they're talking about one of those minerals in their area, you know. And here you're talking about all of them, you know, all there in that one area.
It was about 5 years ago. A gentleman was here. His name is John McCants. He's the president of the South Ontario Prospectors Association. Brilliant man, a geophysicist. And he had just gotten back from Greenland, and this was just before the guys went over and found all the rubies.
Right.
But what he was telling me was he had met a group of geologists from Australia that were going around the world to try to put together stuff that had happened. Most mines are either gonna be one mineral predominantly. So it's either gonna be a silver mine or a copper mine or a gold mine or whatever. There's what they had said was there's about 24 mines in the world that have all three gold, silver, and copper. This property being one of them. We all had the same 30 to 35 minerals. We all had the same levels of radiation. So they were putting it down to when this eruption took place. It was a massive eruption that affected the entire world. Because these mines are, you know, they're not just here in Canada, they're throughout. So that made us start thinking, or got me again thinking on this meteorite impact, because when that happened, that didn't just happen here. There was a huge meteorite shower that affected the entire Earth. I think that's where the link comes. And even now when, you know, I start reading a lot of these posts on Facebook that all gold comes from meteorites. I don't believe that meteorite brings the gold, but I believe the meteorite impact was necessary to create it. I don't know if I'm right on that, but sure sounds good.
Right, yeah. It makes as much sense as any other theory, right? I mean, the impact, the explosion, the heat made all gave it the pressure, the heat, everything that it needed to create and fuse and get the gold out, put it back together or whatever. You know?
Well, that's the thing. Like, you know, a meteorite impact would be enough that it's going to break through right to the core. It vaporizes everything. So to me, that explained how the gold would be in fine particle throughout everything. It doesn't matter where I take the rock from. It's going to give me some level of gold, even minute, but it's going to be there. You can't see it. The rock could be green, the rock could be black, but it's going to be there. So again, that brought me down to it has to be a meteorite impact. So now I'm looking at and thinking the same. We have to take a look at a bigger picture, and I think and going back to the same, all of these countries, we're continents, we were all one. So I think if we were to take the bulk of where all of the meteorite impacts occurred that are known, And then if we put it all into one big mass, plot them out, and then put them back to where we are now, I think that might open up a lot more areas where there would be gold found and other minerals found.
Right.
Oh, the big one they're looking for now is cobalt.
Cool.
Pink. Cobalt has the most beautiful pink bloom. It's a nice pink. It's the prettiest. Just like the malachite has that green on it from the like the copper gets the green.
Right.
Cobalt gets pretty girl pink.
Huh. I always think of cobalt is a real dark blue.
Like the glass?
Right.
The glass is, yes, but the rock itself is gray and almost like a whitish gray.
Oh, really?
And then when it oxidizes, the first colors that come out are as this beautiful, just a pretty pink, little girl pink. And then I have some that I left outside. It's now gone to the pink itself has gone even deeper, and it's almost like a dark bold purple, like
just so you know, Kim, I have a 7-year-old granddaughter who is into rocks, and she's a girly girl.
Right, then she knows the pink. There you go. You know the pink. Oh, that's what you get. That's in cobalt. And Cobalt, Ontario is only an hour from here. Like that's anybody that goes. If you're into collecting minerals, you have to put it on your bucket list. You have to give yourself at least a week, and probably 2 weeks to do it justice. The mineral diversity in this area, just Hastings County alone, we have 15 minerals here that are only available in our township, in Mayrock Township. Super cool stuff. Some of it's ugly, but some of it is just like, it'll just blow your mind. I posted a picture a couple of weeks ago. Hang on, this is the rock. All right, I don't know if you can. Let me see if I can get where the. Okay, there's a little band you can see up there along the top. See where it's getting that little bit of sparkle into there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's not that heavy. The little sparkles, though, when I put them underneath my microscope, they're pyramids, and they're dark red, and they're pyramids base to base. So, okay, like perfect diamonds then, just teeny tiny. I've sent it for assay. I'm still waiting to find out for sure what it is. I'll probably have another week to wait. And they'll tell me. They first tried telling me that it was hematite. And I kept telling them, this was at the mining office. And he says, oh, it's hematite. And I said, no, it can't be, because it's a dark red. And, you know, up against the light and with my just a little magnifier, they look silver. This was buried under moss. And Joey was out with me. I wanted to find more of this diopside. I'm going to find the diamonds, right? And it was just a little sparkle in the sun that caught Joey's eye, and we peeled off the moss, and here's all these minerals. Another mystery. Got to find out what it is. You don't know.
You got it, yeah. Especially because of where you're at, you're seeing so many different things. You being fairly new at this, you got to know what that is now. You got the mineral fever.
Well, it was the rock shops that helped me more than anything. When I wanted to saw, the guy had an 18-inch diamond saw, rock saw, and I wanted it. Oh, that would be so much fun to play with, right? So
The
I
slabs
heard
you
that.
could make.
Well, exactly. And I heard the guy was, he had to retire. He had cataracts and something else, and so he was going to retire. And so I went up right away. I'm going to buy the saw. Well, he wouldn't sell me the saw. I had to buy everything. So I thought about it, and then it's like, no saw is worth that much. I came home. I went on eBay to start checking out how much it would cost if I wanted to buy some of these rocks and crystals. And then the next day I went up and I paid the deposit and I bought my saw. I had 2 weeks well, first I had a month to move this mineral shop, and this collection had been sitting there 40 years.
Oh,
and so I had a month to move it. And I was like, okay, that's not a problem. So I renovate cottages, and I'd get up early in the morning, and I'd go and renovate the cottage, and then I'd do the hour drive north, and I'd load up my truck, and I would drive these rocks home. But all I had here was a barn. I didn't have like a store or anything to put them. I'm building as I'm moving, and everybody I knew went on holidays. Funny thing. So now I've got to build the shelves, load up the rocks, unload the rocks, take the buckets back up, load up more. And in doing this, I was doing trips and trips a day. I'm sure I wore out the brakes of my truck for sure. I finally got them all moved, and I got the shelves, and then, now you have to sort all this stuff. And John, the guy that had collected it, well, he knew where it was that he collected it from, and so he would just, that's so and so from Dundas, and that's from the Barrel Pit, and he could just spiel them all off. Well, then I had to figure out what was what, and then where did it come from, and he didn't put labels on things. So here's a chart that I know all of my Amazonite came from Wilberforce. I know all of my garnets came from Torrey Hill. So I know that everything in the collection came from this area, but I don't know. Okay, so my marcasite is, I think, from Arizona, and my fire agate's from there. My petrified wood is from Arizona. My wave light, I'm not even sure, but a lot of what's in here is, and the only way that I'm learning this stuff is, okay, now what is this? I have to pull out the book, find out what the rock is, and then find out what location in Canada that we were mining that, and if I'm lucky, and then I can get the right one. Sure is a lot of fun. Best hobby I've ever had. If I knew about this when I was in high school, I would have been a geologist for sure.
Yeah, right.
I think about that too. If I would have got into prospecting young, I wouldn't have been such a beach bum ditching school to go surfing and chasing bikinis. I would have been in the mountains of Southern California dredging for gold and studying geology a lot more. I've always liked earth science, geology and stuff like that. So
I grew up in Prince Edward Island, and that is Canada's Florida. And it's all sandbars and beautiful white sand beaches. And the only rocks that you're going to get there are tumbled on the beach, or it came in on a barge. So when I moved here, and people are, I want to buy your rock. Well, what do you mean you're going to buy a rock? Like who in their right mind buys a rock? It took me years to finally get my head around it. And now Well, I don't want to sell my rocks because they're my babies. You know, you can really get an attachment to them.
It take a lot of money to sell your rocks, huh?
I don't sell very many. I watch a lot of rocks leave this property, and I don't know. We had such a fun day doing it that, and those people come back and they bring people back. So, you know, I know if they're going to go through all the hassle, I'm getting mosquitoes in here now. If they're going to go through all of the hassle to crush up that rock, they will find gold in it. I have no doubt. And they all reply back that there's gold in that stuff. It's like, yeah, I know. You know, I don't, it's so much fun out there. I'd hate to waste time in a creek. I know that that's people's passion is, you know, go to the rivers and go to the creeks. But with me, it's like, no, go to the ore pile and fill up a bag and then pan it in your sink at home. So when I move, I have to take my kitchen sink with me because I'm sure I got a few ounces in that P-trap.
Did you see the question from our friend Dick Goldsmith?
Yes. And okay, here's the things that I figured out. I went to the Smithsonian. I went and saw their mineral display. It is, oh my gosh, that you gotta go. But don't ever take what you saw there out into the field, because that's not what things look like in the field. I have, the best book that I've found so far is called, I think it's Rock and Beginner's Guide to Rocks and Minerals. And it has all of the locations in Canada and the United States where the minerals are found, but the pictures are shown in the raw. I know my rocks in the raw. The other day was the first time I ever mixed up iron out. I wouldn't think of taking, you know, like, oh, you got to put that in iron out, and it's like, no, you know, why would you do that? That just doesn't make sense to me. The beauty is in that rock, just as it came out. I found to get back onto the books, the Smithsonian, the pictures are beautiful, but it didn't help me any. And I have
those are all clean and everything.
Exactly.
All the excess material is removed from the mineral. So you just got a clear view of the mineral.
The National Audubon, their mineral book, the little gray that's this big and 1,000,001 pages. I love that book because it fits perfect in my backpack, so I'm not lugging out heavy weight if I need it. But once again, you know, those pictures are so deceiving because there's this beautiful crystal. Well, They don't tell you that it's microns in size. So, you know, I'm expecting to find crystals. You know,
right.
Look at those, and they don't come that way. So the best, like I'd still have to say, the best one is the Beginner's Guide to Rocks and Minerals. I've used that more times. There's also a book out there for lapidary values, and I can't remember the name. I lost my book, but it gives a general idea of what the rocks should be sold as far as rough raw weight. I've got a lot of leopard print jasper and banded jasper and red jet, like just tons of this stuff. That to jewelers, you know, that's their gold, and to some of us, it's okay. That's just a rock. We can go and get lots. Like we can pick up tons of agate out of Lake Superior. Not as much as before, but you know, you can sodalite. Yeah, not as big. I got big ones though, because mine were taken out 40 years ago.
Oh, cool.
Mine are big ones. Yeah. But again, there's another problem too, is because the bigger they get, the more money that get put onto them, and people don't want to pay that. There's a, I'm sorry to say this, but rockhounds are cheap. They don't want to pay for rocks. I don't blame them, because like, who's going to pay for a rock? But there comes a point when there just isn't any rocks left. And so, you know, you don't know what side of the fence to walk. You know, like it's just, wow. Hey Wolf, I'll post a picture. I'll take out all the books that I've got, but the ones that I find the best, I'll post pictures on them. I should have thought, because they're down in the barn, but I never thought to bring them up. There's some nice little crystal books that are out there. There's one, it's just a tiny one. Oh, no, it's not here either. I was reading through it the other day, and I'm trying to find this diopside again. And what I found is, oh, look, it's Nicoline. And I'm reading through, and Occurrence, Eldorado. Oh my God, that's me. I'm in a book. So a lot of these books don't have the minerals that you're looking for. And then you pick up one that is just a dinky little paperback book, and sure enough, there she be. The pictures are nice if you want to take it into the bathroom and you're going to be in there for a while. But
okay.
And you know what? There's something else I found out too. If you're going around, if you want to find mineral books, you got to go to the Wicca section. You won't find them in science where you expect to find them. If you go into chapters, into chapters, you ask for the Wicca, and you get into Wicca, and there's every single crystal book you want to find.
And my sister-in-law was into that. She was a Wiccan and was really into crystals with minerals and stuff. She thought, you know, but she was for the healing part.
You know, there is something to it.
You believed it. I mean, that was you couldn't make her not believe in it, you know. And it was something she believed in and taught and made a living at it. So
here's I'm going to tell you something. When I first moved here and I was working for Dunkin' Donuts, this is in 2008, and I think in the States the fiasco started with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Is that anyway, okay. So I'm not paying attention to what's going on in the States, and Canada's a trickle down, so whatever happens there, we're going to get a huge portion of it. We're too close. We're too close. So I moved down here, and all of a sudden the recession is starting to hit, and Dunkin' Donuts, boom, like that. After I bought the property, no, we're not moving into, we're not expanding into Canada, and that's the thing. They had taken over, bought out from Couche-Tard, and they were taking over the Dunkin' Donuts, and we're going to do a rush through Canada because we had them before and they all closed down. But immediately everything stopped. So, okay, I didn't get paid for the stores that I just finished. And now I'm in a place that I don't know anybody and I don't have a job, and oh my God, the world is Chicken Little, like you wouldn't believe, Chicken Little.
You just bought a place.
Oh, the sky was falling in. I didn't know what I was going to do. So you go into you do go into a depression, and you close off, and so me and Joe, like bless his heart, I'd go out there to the woods, and I to try to save the day, I let a logging company come in and cut some trees where there was a bunch of damage, wind damage. And instead
I remember when you were talking about that. I think either you described the damage so well I could picture it, or you posted a picture. I remember.
Well, you know, I'd walk past that. I would be in tears after seeing what they had done, knowing what was there before, and then seeing what I was left with, and I would just be in tears. I would go up and I would sit on that ore pile. And you know, when you're sitting there, you never do feel alone. Like, that's the coolest thing. You always feel like you've got somebody there with you. Not spooky, but somebody, it's just comforting. So I would go up to the top of that pile and like all I could to hold back tears. And I'd sit up there for a few minutes, maybe half an hour or so, and then all of a sudden, okay, well, I can go home. And me and Zach, we'd start walking down the hill. And I'd come back to that same clear cut, and I'd look at it, and it would be, holy cow, I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do that. My God, I can take on the world. Nothing's going to stop me now. And you get that feeling every time that you go out there. So there's the wellness, there's got to be something to it, because my God, does it make you feel good. Go into the woods for a day. It makes you feel, yeah.
It rejuvenates your body. I love it.
It is. And you know, right now is black raspberry season. Those are just the best.
You make jams and stuff for them, or what?
Jam. I make jam, and I make the best pie.
Joe was saying earlier
Wayne,
what a fabulous cook you are.
Wayne, make sure you bring some pie back.
Joe's had my pie, yeah. I make a pie to drive 100 miles for.
Hear that?
I make a pie.
Hear that, Wayne?
I make a pie to cross borders for.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, Joe was saying you make everything from scratch. Killer cook. I'm
Chances are, Kim, chances are if you were to give Wayne a pie, he would never make it back to us.
Chances are, huh? You'd have to give him a dozen. Make that a baker's dozen.
No, I started, you know, after a while, I thought I'd try this retirement thing, but, you know, you put your feet up, and after a while, gravity switches things to where they weren't before.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, well, I'm going to have to start eating healthy. And what was it? You know, when we were young, we were always good and healthy. Well, what was it? Well, of course, Mom did the cooking, and not McDonald's. And so yeah, I'd much rather pod peas and have a good meal than hit a McDonald's. But I'd always go for coffee. So if you want to take me out for coffee, well, I'd never say no to a coffee.
Oh, I hear that.
Yeah. Hear.
Joe, best all.
Best pie.
Yeah.
What about armed mom wanting to go? Now, Peter Fish is any of the pictures if you see of the guy. Peter comes, well, he moved, so he doesn't live close to me anymore. Peter was here first time 45 years ago when it belonged to the old owner. And then I met Pete maybe 3 years ago, I'd say. And he wanted to know if he can go for a tour through the woods. And he was sure. So we get out there, and Peter kept looking up in the top of the trees, and I couldn't figure out, I said, you know, like, what are you looking for? Well, when he was here 45 years ago, Clifford had chainsaws stuck in the trees. And every time he got a chainsaw stuck, he'd go out and buy a new chainsaw. Peter was walking around looking, and now he's got me doing the same thing. I walk around looking up in the top of the trees because I'm sure one of these days I'm going to find an old chainsaw up in there. But
Or
a great
really
time.
pulling your leg.
But if you notice too, though, it seems all of these guys that used to come out and help me out exploring in these holes, they all moved away. I don't know.
Work them too hard.
I was wondering.
Yeah, he busted my. Yeah, I'm getting out of here.
I did 2 years ago. I carried so many rocks back. There was 4 of us. Ken, Peter, myself. I think Steve Johnson perhaps was with us. But we had backpacks full, and we all had those Home Depot buckets, the orange buckets, and loaded full of rocks. Yeah, I can lift this one, and I can lift that one, but you don't think you got to carry that 3 miles back. Right. So now we're all loaded up with rock, and we're trying to head on home. And I get stubborn at times, you know, I'm going to do it. I blew my shoulders out, and for the next, all that winter, I couldn't go through the drive-through. I had to go in to get my coffee. It was the worst thing. I couldn't raise my hand up enough to get the coffee off the counters. So now I don't carry as many rocks back because that coffee is important.
Yeah, gotta have the coffee.
Oh, you have to.
Rocks ain't going nowhere.
No, not going anywhere.
Joe says he's still around.
Watching the game, Joe. Well, yeah, Joey and I are going out again this weekend. I got people on train. Back out. Okay, we went out the other day. We were going to go rappelling down the deep hole. I met a guy a couple of years ago, at the same time I met Pete, Ken Payne. And Ken Payne was a roping instructor from Jasper. So, like, you meet the handiest people. So Ken brings the ropes out, and we all hop into a harness, and then we go dangling over the edge and into the Harding shaft. But there's a couple of other shafts that have opened that I'd like to go in and explore a few other ones and see what all is in there. Tell them about the Mock involved. I want to confirm. Oh, yeah. You guys heard about the Caribou Gold Rush?
Yeah.
Okay. So Caribou Cameron was the guy's name. And when his wife, so this was just when they discovered here, 1866. I think it'd be the year before, winter of 1855 maybe, or 65 rather. Caribou Cameron's wife died, and she was from Kingston here, Ontario, and they were out in the Caribou country, out in BC. She wanted to be buried here at home. So what he did was he made a coffin, and he filled the coffin with alcohol, and he carted her across the country and brought her home to be buried. After the funeral, and that was when the gold discovery was first made here, and there was a lot of is it gold or isn't it gold, or nobody knows, or can't be, or I don't believe it, you know, all this here was going on. So Caribou Cameron, along with 200 other men, did what they called the Caribou Raid, and they marched here to the woods. And the government at the time was also getting quite scared that there's going to be a lot of mob issues and thievery, and you know, there's scoundrels out there. So they started the first police force, the RCMP. And it started with Sergeant Paxton Fox. He was retired cavalry. And all he knew was cavalry. So he trained 25 men on horseback who became the RCMP. They came here to stop the Caribou Raid. By the time they got here, 2 of the guys turned out to be thieves, so we had 23 RCMP in the first detachment, and then 2 into the first jail. But by the time they got here, the mine owners had already let Caribou down in to check the mine, and he verified that it was as rich, because when they found this place, it was the richest gold discovery ever. Even in California, it didn't compare to what they found in this here cave. So that brought the first RCMP detachment to my woods and the Caribou raid. A lot of history happened here.
Yeah, I guess. How about have you done much metal detecting in your area?
I always let people bring metal detectors. I've seen so many different types. I've seen from, well, I got my dad's. He has the original Radio Shack, so I have an original Radio Shack model. It's great for finding tin.
I can't.
I've had the mine labs. I've had some very expensive units out here, and I tell people they're more than welcome to bring them out to use them. By the time we get to the gold mine, they usually put them away, and don't pull them out after that.
Are they not finding anything, or are they just finding too much mineralization?
There's so much iron. There's okay. So in the assay, in one assay off the vein off the front of the mine, I got a piece of that here. This stuff. Okay. I don't know how well you're going to be able to. If it picks up any fleck or anything into that. Okay, so very, very thin, right? And I broke this off the wall. This was 3 grams for gold, 480,000 for iron. So it's not going to pick up the gold.
The gold, right? It's going to pick up the iron, but not the gold.
Right. Well,
exactly.
Good thing gold rides an iron horse.
Well, no, I was thinking more of any old relics or stuff from the RCMP.
No, they were only here for one. Well, by the time the RCMP got here, the raid was already over, and Caribou and the boys were sitting in the bar. So same as now, nothing's changed.
Okay.
So nothing from then. We have found, is it rim shot casings, the bullets, brass bullets?
Mm-hmm.
We found those up where the brothel would have been, and okay. I found the brass from off the brushes that they would have used for, like your old paintbrushes. They use a paintbrush for brushing the fines. I found the brass from off of that. The smelter pot from here was taken up to, it's in the Miners Museum in Bancroft. They stole that away in 1960s. And then I found drill rods that we pulled out, and there's still 2 more to come out. Well, that's what we're going to do. We were supposed to do that the other day when Joe came out. On Sunday, we were going to do that. But we got sidetracked watching snakes in the creek. So now, this weekend is Saturday. Either Saturday or Sunday, I'm not sure which day, but we're going to take the ropes and we're going back down into the deep shaft. We'll see what's down in there. Ray, we're in Ontario, Canada. So what state is Ray Rousseau in?
Alaska.
Alaska.
That's Razor on GPS. Razor 13.
Okay. Ontario. Yep, he's in Placer. I'm in the hard.
Yeah, he's on the beach.
He's on the beach.
He lives in the beautiful capital, AK. Juno.
Oh, okay. Let's Joe got up here. I had on years ago. Used a lot. I helped some on the beach in Toronto. Yeah, I have more luck with my little metal detector on the beach than I do up here. There's so much of everything that it doesn't know what to do. It just makes racket. Peter, well, actually, okay, no, I shouldn't say that because Peter Fish, that would have been, I think, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And Pete has an old metal detector. I can't remember what kind he has, but it was old, and that's what he kept saying was, oh, this is so old. But it was Pete's metal detector that pinpointed this hot spot we're in the gold mine. And I was up on the top, and so they marked it down below. We spray painted it. Pete comes up above and was sitting up there with me, and he takes his metal detector and he's swinging it around. I had seen the red, the gauzen in a spot. Pete checks it with his metal detector, and it's giving us numbers. And that was the stuff that I just had done. That was 8 grams with all of 8 grams of gold and the rare earth, the 15 of the rare earth that were in there. Half of those names I can't even pronounce on that list. I didn't post the assay. It just didn't make sense. It was 9 pages long. Usually my assay is 1 page, everything on it. And this time it was just, I was science. So it just didn't make sense. I showed it to the guy that has the mining page. He posted it on the mining report, and right away there was a company asking for they want 100 ton of rock a month, 100 metric ton of rock a month. They don't want the farm, they didn't want to mine it, but they want whoever's going to mine it to sell them, and that's for the rare earth.
Wow.
So I thought, oh, okay, well, you know, if somebody comes along, there's already a side deal on the go.
There you go.
If I was young, geez, you know, if I was 30 years old, man, I'd be doing that for sure. I need 2 walking sticks now. And my trails, you know, the rocks, the holes and everything, you can't take a quad up there. I take my ride-on lawnmower as far as it can go, and then you're walking from there. So, yeah, and it's a young man's game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even stand up in a creek without falling.
Oh, the old Prospectors shuffle.
I took a tumble this weekend again.
Oh, man. Too bad no one was there to tape it.
No.
What if, I was just thinking that, would snakes run from salt? If I put a salt lick in that creek, would that keep snakes away?
It would keep the fish away, probably.
Oh, I've only got little minnows, and it's going to be bone dry in a couple of weeks anyway. I haven't had any rain yet, so this sucker will dry up every year. If we don't get rain, so I won't.
I think I'd rather have them in the water than in the grass. I can see them in the water. I can see them in the grass. Weeds. I'd rather be able to see them myself. I know where they're at.
Well, that scared me because the kid that was there, he left his little dredge out there, right? And so it where the hose from his dredge, because he's coming back, he didn't want to drag. And oh my gosh, it's the sweetest little unit this guy made, and he made it all out of carbon fiber. He just takes it apart, and he just takes it apart and puts it together in seconds. It's so nice and lightweight.
Oh.
So he left it, and where the hose was, that's where the snakes were following down along that hose. These guys, I don't know if I'd want to be dredging. Not now. I was okay watching them the first day. I never saw any snakes there. But
oh,
I'm
sure once you did it, you'd love it, especially if you got underwater.
I'm not going to go and find out.
Those two snakes did it for you, huh?
Oh my gosh. I'll have, if I see a snake here in the yard, and say I have to go to the rock shop, and I'd go straight across the yard to get into there. And if I saw a snake in the grass, then for the rest of the year, I'm going to go down to the fence, and I'm going to walk along the fence line, and I'm going to go 3 times as far to get there before I'm going to walk across the yard, because there was a snake there. He's probably long gone, but I don't care. I might see him. So we can't take that chance. I get super happy. Once it gets cold and I know that the snakes are gone, then let's go to the woods every day. Stay out there all day long. I don't care. But this time of year, I don't like looking in rock piles.
They're pretty active right now. Yeah, Ray says they got no snakes in Juneau.
No, they don't. They don't have snakes in Prince Edward Island either. They don't have gold there, but we don't have snakes.
Well, Kim, I really appreciate you joining us tonight. It's getting on 11:30.
Wow, sure
it is.
And time flies when you're having a good time with great company.
This was so much fun, guys. I'm so glad you asked me to do it.
Well, we're glad when you finally came on.
Definitely. It was our pleasure having you, Kim. And we would love to have you join us again sometime.
Yeah, really. It was definitely, after all these years, it was about time we met, huh?
It is. And it's still that this is only halfway there. You still got to come up and visit.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And definitely on the bucket list now.
Definitely on the bucket list.
But I know I got to wake up really early, unfortunately, and I still have an hour or so of work to do after post-production, or for post-production. Stay on for a little bit, please, Kim.
I will.
Jesse, Dano, thank you very much as always, my brothers of another mother. Thank you everybody out there for joining us tonight who have lasted this long. It's because of you we do what we do, right guys?
You know it, that's why. Oh, Dano is here.
Thank you guys.
No, hey, it was our pleasure.
This was great.
Fun. It was fun talking to you. Yeah, it was a good time. And time does fly when they're fun. I hope our audience seemed pretty engaged tonight, so that's good.
Yeah.
I want to thank them for being here. Even if Ray did get here late.
He popped in earlier.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I'll get my my Skype fixed for the next time, so we don't have as much chatter going on.
Definitely. Well, we work with Murphy however he shows up. We just, like I've said 100 times, the show must go on, and it is live entertainment. So you get what you get. And again, thank you all for joining us tonight, taking your time to be with us here on Tuesday Night Hangout Live. Join us next week for the new owner of the Gold Grabber High Banker, Jack Tucker, Gold Fever Radio. He'll be with us next Tuesday. He was in the room earlier. Thank you all again. Until then, may you always have a flash in your pan.
Do what he says next.
You betcha, buddy. May you all
Yeah.
Well,
Oops.
I just wish he would.
Maybe one day too. We'll see you on the river. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Hey, no problem, Ray. I'll be glad you make it anyway.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
All right. Good night, Ed. Good night, Dano.
Good night, Jesse.
Good night, Kim.
Good night.
Get that mute.
Susan,